Hello and welcome to Weekly Affirmations, the positive feel-good show about indie and freeform games. And we are ready to kick off a fabulous weekend with you. So today is a special roundtable. We do these every once in a while where we don't actually play a game, but instead we have a very, very awesome discussion about something related to gaming. And today, oh, look at all those Hayes in chat. Hey, chat.
Hey.
Hello. I see all my friends there and some new faces too. If you're new to the channel, like a lot of people who have subscribed over the last week, please say hi, introduce yourselves to the regulars. They'll say hi back. But today we are discussing bleed. Bleed is in the blood of my feelings. Is that accurate?
That's pretty intense. Yeah. I feel like that's very Halloween themed. There we go.
There we go. Perfect for Halloween.
Yes.
So I am Strix. I am the host of this show, and I really love indie and freeform games. So we talk about those a lot. We play them a lot, and sometimes they get rather strange. For instance, I think one of the last times you were on the show, we used the actual mechanic of fire, and we burned ourselves in order to understand how to play this game.
I remember that. So
That's pretty intense.
So this is Grey Pawn. This is Strix Consort. You've met them both before. It's good to have you both back. His real name is Ajit, by the way. But you can
Really?
call him Strix Consort if you like.
I have a name. I didn't know that.
Then joining my show for the first time today, I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi,
Money.
Happy Strix Day. Hope all is going well.
Yeah.
Looking forward to the round table. Can you give Ajit an affirmation?
Whoa.
Hashtag Wuxing.
Absolutely, Airdinks. And that reminds me, I'm going to grab my affirmation cards 1 second.
I really don't know who that person's talking about.
Who?
I think.
What? No chickens here named Ajit?
Yeah, I thought only the Strix Consort.
Only you'll only refer
I'll only be
Forever?
known as the Strix Consort from now on. Once this ring has been put on my finger.
Oh, what's that? What is that? What happened?
I don't know. It looks like an engagement ring to me.
When did that occur?
A couple of weeks ago.
Oh, are we matching?
Oh.
We're so disgusting. Oh my god. Oh. Ooh. So here on my show in Hyper RPG, we do a very special thing. Just like this.
Hello Strix. Welcome back. Sador-Krupp would like you to affirm Strix-Consort.
Yeah, that's from
Whoa.
Dutch Teddy. So you're popular today.
Thanks, guys. That's pretty cool.
So
I feel like a great consort.
you are a great consort. We just need to get you a little crown.
Okay. Sure. That
So on
sounds
my
good.
show, anytime you donate or subscribe, at least
Thanks,
$5, you get to have an affirmation. And as you can see, you can have it for yourself, or if you're super cool, you can dedicate it to someone else to make them feel good. Because we're all about the feels around here. Sometimes positive, sometimes real deep, sometimes scary.
Sometimes scary.
Sometimes.
Sometimes murderous.
Sometimes there are evil bats that want you to die in the middle of the pyramid.
Yep.
Oh, thank you, Nufangu, for friending us. We hope you stick around. Okay, I just gotta make sure there's a shuffle. Oh, and Intmix just resubbed. Can we get some resub hype?
Show us the sub, everybody.
What is it? Okay, so while I'm doing this, I think you were in the middle of introducing
Yeah.
yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, chat. Hey, everyone. My name is Mel. I go by dark_deer_ on Twitter, and I am a local creative team developer, and also I work for the LGBT gaming convention GamerX, which just happened last week.
Prosperous Guard has been creating great poetry this week. And Lady KQ has done the affirmations last Friday. For this, please affirm both of them. Sador-Krupp, #Mech of the Week 2, #GameFeels.
Thank you for that
Wow.
awesome donation. That was $100, guys.
That's amazing.
Thank you for it.
That's awesome.
So, as some of you know, we were at GamerX this last weekend. It was a wonderful convention. We really loved it.
Yeah, it's really great. You guys should check it out.
You guys should definitely go.
If you're on the East Coast, November, I want to say 12th and 13th, we are doing GamerX East in Times Square.
Ooh.
So if you are in the area, go to east.gamerx.com, check it out, pick up your tickets,
That's
come and have
awesome.
fun.
Yeah.
And something cool that you guys were doing while we were gone at GamerX during my regular show time is you were giving out affirmations even though the show wasn't running, which I think is super awesome. So thank you, Lady Khaki. That was super neat. All right.
That is really
So I think a couple of affirmations for Ajit is in order. Oh yes. Oh yes. Remember, you got to make the sounds of whatever cards
What?
you pulled for. So Ajit. Oh, a silent reprieve.
Welcome back, Strix.
Oh,
Can we
Wow.
affirm everyone at Hyper RPG for doing a
Yes.
great job during every day?
that's really
Hashtag
awesome.
JackRabbitBuff, hashtag as technology.
Yes, as technology for life.
That's so awesome. You guys are really, really generous.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that's super great.
You got a great channel.
We have a great community.
Aw.
And he's trying to stall for time. So, oh wow, Zinstate and Alien Knitter are hosting us right now. Thank you guys so much. Woo! In case you don't know what that means they have their own streams and they've now plugged into ours.
And so is
And so is what?
Signal.
I think there's like
Zinstate and Alien Knitter.
and
And who
then
else? Oh, and Airdings.
there it is. Yeah.
Airdings.
There you go.
Yes, I am Strix. This is me. Commander tier.
Yay, Strix consort. Can I get small fry her weekly affirmation,
Yeah.
please?
Absolutely, Vicky.
Can I get us? Wow.
You're popular.
Yeah.
All right,
my
all right, Ajit, are you ready for
my
this?
God.
Are you ready?
I'm
You
not entirely ready.
You gotta make eye contact.
I'm not entirely ready. I need to brace myself.
You, my love, are a svelte, exploding chipmunk.
I don't know what that sounds like.
You gotta give it a shot.
So like smell.
Oh, Solar Stream just resubbed for an 8th month.
Thank you, God. How much longer can I stall?
Do the noise, do it.
All right, can we do it together?
It's your card.
How about you do what? All right, fine. Okay.
Svelte, exploding chipmunk.
Oh my God, that was so bad.
That's good. That's on the internet forever.
This is ridiculous. I can't believe you do
Cap
this every
that.
week.
I do
Please
this
delete
every-
this from the
I have
internet
no
forever.
dignity.
No, it's
No dignity
it's
whatsoever.
there. You never get
Oh my God.
All right. Well, I have
Great
news for you,
affirmation.
Ajit, because the next affirmation
Wow.
is also for you.
Oh God. Let the misery end.
This is from Dutch Teddy, so you should say thank you, Dutch Teddy.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. But
So-
I'm a little scared.
Strix consort. You are a radical, bargaining siren.
That's pretty intense. I kind of like being a radical, but bargaining siren.
Uh-huh.
How about you?
This is how it works.
Oh my
I
God.
don't make the rules.
With great affirmations comes great responsibility.
Siren.
I don't think it was that kind of siren.
I don't know.
Sold.
I have no idea what I'm doing.
I like that bargain.
Holy shit. That's kind of
I
ridiculous.
love Fridays, guys.
Wow.
They're the best.
This is pretty awesome.
Okay, so as a reminder, this is Weekly Affirmations. We are part of Hyper RPG, the hyperactive, interactive channel that is really just community-based.
Hi, Strix. Can we affirm Trooper SJP? He's had his wisdom teeth removed today.
No,
Wow. Oof.
I did that once. Not fun.
That's painful.
I still have my wisdom teeth.
Yeah, I haven't had mine removed.
And Barui resub for a 6th month.
Wow.
Yeah, you guys are awesome.
You guys are fun.
Okay, this one is for Intmix for that awesome resub. So guys, resubs and donations are what keep us on air, that let us do these amazing shows and have a community with you. So thank you so much. So Intmix, you are a warm, believing centaur. So now I get to make the sound. See,
Yeah.
I have
Oh,
responsibilities
man.
too here.
Thank you for the vote of confidence. I really appreciate it. Cause man, this is pretty difficult doing sounds.
Okay, so what does a warm, believing centaur sound like? That would be like.
That's awesome. You are
very
much
calm.
better at this than I am.
Very
That's
good.
that's why you're the Strix and I'm just the consort. Wow.
Okay, so the next one is from 4am Critter, and I will do one for Prosperous. I need to be able to read my own handwriting. Prosperous Knight, Prosperous G, and Lady Capu. Prosperous. I know who you are. I really do. I thought it was Prosperous Knight. Prosperous Paladin? No, that's Paladin Hulk. Prosperous. All right, so this is from 4am Critter, and you are a silly, burrowing gnome. Grapevine, you want to give this one a shot?
A silly burrowing gnome.
You're all over this, man.
I feel like I was born to take this role.
Yeah.
Prosperous Guard. Prosperous Guard. I knew it. Prosperous Guard.
Prosperous rhymes. Hashtag. Okay, a silly burrowing gnome is probably gonna be like.
Can we get an affirmation for Trooper SJP and Seattle Street News? They've had a tough day.
Ooh.
SJP. What happened to Seattle Street News?
Affirmations are a great way to cure a bad day.
They are, definitely, because we look ridiculous.
I mean, they're absolutely ridiculous, but really positive.
Oh
and
boy,
awesome.
this one's fun. All right, Lady Kakiyu, thank you so much for keeping the affirmation tradition alive while I was away at GamerX. I appreciate it, and I think the rest of the community did too, so thank you. And you are cooperative, but misbehaving goose.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So, Mel, do you want to give this one a shot?
Why do I get the goose?
I really don't think you want me to do the goose.
So, cooperative, misbehaving goose.
Yeah.
That'd be a bit like a.
There you go.
I buy it. Yeah,
Thank you.
solid.
Oh, Seattle Street News is the Shadowrun news blog that's run by Trooper SJP. That makes sense. I should probably read that. That sounds like it would be interesting. Okay, the next one is from Paximo, which is awesome. And this is for all of the staff and guests here at Hyper RPG. Thank you so much, because we definitely appreciate being in person too. So this is for everyone. It's for Laura, it's for Emily, it's for Ryan, it's for me, it's for you, it's for everybody. So we are all rambunctious, wandering griffins.
Refreshed.
Rambunctious wandering griffins. So it'd be like.
Oh my god. Holy cow. Just so you. We're getting married. I'm getting married to this. I'm scared for my future.
You're so welcome.
Oh man. My life. What's happening
Oh, hi,
here?
Lizzie the Bold. We're just
Hey,
doing some
Lizzie.
affirmations. So if you're just joining us, this is Weekly Affirmations. I think you get the gist now. And today we're going to be having a special roundtable discussion, which we only do every once in a while, where we're going to be discussing bleed, which is good and bad, and we're going to get into what it really means and how everyone who roleplays should know what at least bleed is, so that they are armed with the information to make best choices for themselves. So this is for Small Fry. It's from Binky. So Small Fry, you all are a beautiful, cunning chinchilla.
Ooh.
So you could be like, just like that.
That's awesome.
Very cunning.
So cunning. Okay, the next one is for Solar Stream for your resub. Thanks for sticking with us, being part of our community. Oh yes. So Solar Stream, you are a speedy, daring sharktopus.
I knew it. I knew you. as soon as that. Speedy
What the hell is a
and daring.
sharktopus?
It's part shark, part
Okay,
octopus.
great.
Yeah.
Yes, that was obvious.
Do you feel better now that you know?
I clearly don't know my marine life.
So that's clearly going to be something along the lines of like, you know, with the speedy intact, it's going to happen really quick. You're not going to see it
okay,
coming.
yeah.
It's also daring. So you're basically just at the beach and then all of a sudden out of the water goes,
Whoa.
so daring.
Who
pretty
is that? Sizeneer. Oh, Sizeneer. Yeah. Thanks for the
Yeah.
resub. Can we get some resub hype? Yeah.
Yeah, there's those sandwiches.
You know, it actually took me an alarmingly long time to figure out what the Subway sandwich plus the hype meant. I was like, sandwiches. I don't get it. Resub hype. Real smart, Strix.
The first time I was on here, I didn't get it either. And it was just like, but I mean, it was a sea of things I didn't understand. I'm like, sandwiches. That goes in there somewhere.
Sandwiches, they're sharks. I
Yeah,
don't know.
the emoticon language is confusing and perplexing.
Can't be. So the next one is for Trooper SJP who got their wisdom teeth out, which kind of sucks. I totally understand that. So hopefully this will make you feel better, and you're gonna have a great weekend kicking it up, drinking soup, and watching a whole bunch of stuff while we
Money. 3 marshmallow. Air affirmations to the 3 guests. Smiley face.
Yeah.
Sharks. There we go.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no more marshmallows. Oh, thanks for that.
Wait, how many marshmallows do you eat?
40. More than 40.
That was pretty awesome.
So thanks for the bits. It was not awesome.
I thought it was kind of amusing.
It was not. I almost threw up like 8 times. Sally and
kinda
Chan,
funny.
26. So yes, there was a show that I did with Rai Rai. We were doing a Poke Thulu, and you guys could make us eat marshmallows. And for some reason, everyone decided that they're gonna make me eat marshmallows. So I ate over 40 marshmallows.
Money. Bleed. The horror. The ultimate horror. Hashtag the scream #Sador #Krupp #Mech of the week 1. Please affirm our overlord. Zach.
Yeah.
Working so hard.
Yeah, so Zach is at New York Comic Con right now, doing his biz. So if you check out his Twitter, which is Overlord, thanks for the bits, then you can see what he's up to. I saw some really good cosplay already come out of New York Comic Con.
Oh,
It was
cool.
as X-Men stuff. I'm not gonna spoil it. You can search it out. Okay, Trooper SJP. Hopefully this makes you feel better because you are a calm, achieving owl. I just want to say we're in synchronicity today because I don't know if you can see these, but these are owl leggings.
Whoa.
Look at the owls.
That's a cheat.
They're pretty intense.
Right there. Right there. Oh, yes.
They're pretty awesome.
Almost calm too.
Almost calm. Owls are never really calm. They're always about to just, eat your eyes like jujubes. But
Yes.
semi-calm.
Mr. Owl.
Oh, Mr. Owl just threw in 100 bits. I appreciate that. Owls unite. So what does a calm, achieving owl sound like? Ooh, and more bits. Thanks.
Wait,
just like Pig.
What are the bits about?
Bits are like another monetized way to be like, hey, it's cool. It's like throwing quarters at the stage.
Oh, okay.
It's a lot less money, but you still be like, I like that. Here's
Yeah,
some
yeah,
bits.
yeah. Supportive.
Bits are cool too.
Yeah.
And it does a cool animation.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
So calm, achieving owl would be like, hoo-hoo, next I run for president.
Whoa.
If you look at, you see there's a little cup on the lower right.
Mm-hmm.
There are
Okay.
little bits that they're trying to
See how
get
they
them in
fall
the
down?
cup.
Yeah, kind of
Yeah.
Those are bits.
Look at them go.
That's pretty neat.
Making it rain.
And it has a meaning.
It does.
Good.
That's pretty neat.
Coming down on my hat.
Oh, a new sub! Jesse Red! Okay, we have to get a dance for this. Oh, get it?
Really?
Yeah!
Oh,
a
Whoa.
new sub! Sit down.
this is the most I've ever danced on camera. Yeah. This is the Roundtable now.
How much longer is this going?
Can we get an affirmation
Alright.
for the organizers?
Wow.
Geek Girl Con this weekend.
Yeah! So AJ
GeekGirlCon.
just donated for an affirmation for Geek Girl Con, which we are going to. We'll be helping support this week.
I'm trying
Oh my
to
gosh, you guys, I gotta keep up. Okay. Judge Teddy just threw in some bits. That's awesome.
Whoa.
So, Varui, this next one's for you, and this is for your resub, and you are a clever, amusing sylph. As we know, a sylph is a wind spirit, so it'd be something like
I'm amused.
there we go.
Great. That's, yeah.
Hey, this is hard work. You want to give it a shot?
No, I don't. Ever again. Never again.
Okay, this next one is also for Trooper SJP and your awesome Seattle Streets blog. Hopefully you can get back to it. Uh-oh. We hit the jackpot. We hit the jackpot just for you, Trooper. So, you
Oh my god.
are a lucky-looking anteater. And as we all know, the anteater has a very special sound here in our peer.
Oh man.
We all know what that sound is except for Mel.
It's true. I have no
So,
idea.
on the count of 3, we're all gonna make an anteater sound.
No, we're not.
Yes, we are. 1, 2, 3. That's the anteater.
I don't know where
I
in the
joined in at the
universe is
end.
there
I
an
joined in.
anteater like that, but
So we
You're
can
welcome.
check off
I'd
that I
love to
did
be an
it.
anteater that sounds like that.
Well, that is the official anteater song.
Okay.
Oh, thanks for the bits, jelly-filled
Wow.
dough.
Cup is full of bits.
It's just raining bits. It's like raining men. Hallelujah. Money.
Today I'd like to affirm Strix. She's got some sweet game picks. This show's fun.
Oh,
She
awesome.
works a ton and make Fridays a fun, exciting fix. Hashtag Thumper Pride.
And it was
Good
even
poem.
in poetry form.
That's pretty
Oh,
smart.
you guys know me so well.
Oh.
Whoa, how many bits
Prosperous
is that?
McDrop.
That's 10,000.
That's 10,000 bits.
Wow.
That's from Chum Chum Gem. Oh my god, that's amazing.
That's a lot of
Thank
bits.
you.
It's
It's gonna rain bits all day.
The community is
Here
pretty
comes
awesome.
I want to see that.
Holy cow! Exploded.
Oh!
It's like an overload of bits or something.
Actually, Ajit, can you give Strix an affirmation? Hashtag wuxing.
What is
He
going
loves
on?
it. He loves it.
Holy.
All right, we will actually have to get
Wow.
to this conversation soon. So you guys know the drill at this point. Eventually, we're gonna shut down the ability to have affirmations in the middle of the show because we want to talk. But we're gonna get through these and then probably jump in. At the end, we'll be able to do affirmations again. So even if you donate or subscribe during the time when things are needed, if you stick around to the end of the show, you'll get your affirmation. Don't worry. Okay, so next one is for Sinir. And Sinir, I want you to know that you are a sensational, clarifying Selkie.
No. Please no.
Application on that.
Come on.
A sensational, clarifying Selkie.
I have no idea. It's you. You're more selfie like than I am.
Well, that's true.
Okay.
So Selkie, so it'd be like sensational and clarifying.
Holy cow. Wow.
It's pretty sensational.
That was.
I love you. Okay.
Selkies are traditionally like seals that take off their skin and then, you know,
Well,
make
they're
people
pretty
fall in love with them
ladies.
and then drown them. Okay,
Yeah,
In
okay.
clever ways.
In clever ways. So the next one is from Vairuri, and it's for all of my guests today. So this is for Graypon,
Thanks.
Ajit, and Mel.
Oh, good.
Which means you'll get to all make the sound at the same time.
Oh,
So,
no.
you three
Okay, I can.
are shiny, everlasting lions.
I like that one.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah.
It's also okay to fear the Strix. Yes, I do fear the Strix.
What? No! There's nothing to fear.
Holy cow.
I am
Whoa.
gentle and kind all the time. Okay, the next one is for... I'm gonna be able to say this right. Salayana Chan 26. If I say it wrong, I'm so sorry. But this one is for you, Salia Chan 26.
Yeah.
I'm doing my best. Ooh, yes. So you are a spicy, glittering hippogriff. A spicy, glittering hippogriff.
What was a hippogriff again?
It's the thing that's kind of like a horse but with wings. It's not a
And then a
Pegasus.
bird head.
It's got a bird head. It's kind of like a griffin,
Yeah,
but
it's
not
Like
Do you
a
not
griffin,
know a
but with a
hippogriff?
horse
Yeah, I
back
thought I
end.
did, but I was totally off.
Yeah.
I was thinking of a chimera, the lion.
Yeah.
No. That's
Scorpion tail?
Come on, man.
No,
It's
scorpion
No,
tail.
that's a
Bird,
manticore.
horse, parrot head.
Yes.
Like an eagle.
Come on, dude.
Oh,
You ever play
with-
D&D?
With little ears.
What's up?
I'm an indie gamer. No.
Do you even D&D?
I didn't memorize the monsters. I
You
just
do.
killed them. I
Do
was
you know how
the
to use
fighter.
thaco tables? Are you a real gamer?
What's up?
At an intelligence of 8. That's how I get my XP.
Strix fact. Strix is the only person who's loved and feared exactly equally. Thank you, SF Lumiere.
Wow.
Even.
So a spicy glittering hippogriff. So it'd be like roll. Because it's spicy and it's glittering.
That was the glitter.
There we
Okay.
go.
I added the glitter.
Okay, this next one is for Zach, who is our commander-in-chief, and he is at New York Comic Con right now. So somebody tweet this at him, because he loves affirmations. He loves them. They're his favorite thing. So
pretty great.
add all the hearts when you tweet. So Zach, you are a handsome, blurting pear.
I know what a pear is. I thought.
I'm confused by
I
this
feel like
too.
I'm about to learn something.
Yeah, that's all you.
Okay, handsome blurting pear. So it'd be like, blah,
What?
blah. It's blurting.
What is a pear? Is it
It's
an
a
animal?
fruit.
It's a fruit. That's what I thought. Fruits don't talk, right?
We're
Making sure I didn't.
we're learning so much basic facts about the animal kingdom and fruits and vegetables.
Fruits and vegetables. It's all on the table today. I would have immediately assumed it was
man.
a typo and it was a bear. And I was like, oh, that's an
A
animal.
handwritten typo.
That's definitely a pear.
That was pretty awesome. Yes, that is a pear.
You're welcome.
Weird.
I'm so glad
Okay.
QQ keeps making these wonderful caps. Please
Thank
archive this. The future
Forever.
needs to know what happened here today.
Once you do it on the internet, it stays live forever.
Strix fact. Strix invented the taco table.
Oh God, I'm so sorry.
Thanks a
Yeah,
lot.
Strix about
sorry.
that in chat.
Exactly.
I didn't mean to.
It's the
Okay.
extended Strix fact. Accidentally created the taco table.
I think I wrote this correctly. So this is for a new sub, so if I get this wrong, Laura QQ, please inform me. But PA Jessrad? Jessrad? PA Jessrad? So thank you so much for joining the channel. We love to have you. Hopefully you enjoy today, because this is kind of ridiculous. So,
It is.
Jessrad. Jessrad? Jessie Rad.
Jesse Rad.
Jessie. So Jessie,
We'll
you
get there.
are an elegant, jumping python. So you're like, because it's a python that jumps.
I'm glad you
Yeah.
did
Saying.
that. Because
Okay.
at first I was actually terrified.
I was
My
getting
mind
ready.
That was like
immediately
a,
thought-
like a really friendly python.
Yeah.
I was
ready
not
for a
scared by that
boing.
python.
Why would my
There was no.
be
No
scary?
boing.
Because it's a python.
Pythons are adorable.
They also kill you.
Yeah.
Only the big ones.
Okay. I don't know. Maybe I've seen too much snakes in a plane or something.
Jumping python.
Here's
Now
a
it's
great fun
cute.
fact. Even the small pythons kill me. I don't know how many medium to small sized pythons Strix has wrestled. And then
I know. Like, how many
equipped
pythons have
to
you
be like-
encountered in your life?
A few.
There you go.
Okay.
In the jungles of South
What did
America,
we
I will have you know.
Jesus Christ.
Not lying.
I fear
I'm
for
not
my
lying.
life.
What did
Somebody
we think she
save
was
me.
gonna say? Oh, none. Like,
Wow.
You're right.
Like, I can't
This
make
is
it up
pretty
because it
intense.
actually happened. Alright, so this one is from AJ, and this is for Geek Girl Con. So maybe someone tweet this at Geek Girl Con. Thanks so much, AJ.
Yeah.
So Geek Girl Con, you are powerful, conquering Nagas.
Ooh, we're getting like a snake theme going
Yeah,
on
we do.
here.
And that was your card.
Yeah, it
You drew that
is,
card.
yeah.
So I think maybe you should do that.
Oh, come on now. What?
What is a powerful conquering Naga sound like?
Oh,
Very good.
Very good. Very
I
good.
feel like,
Beautiful.
wow.
You're natural.
That's not the word that comes to mind when I do these. Natural is the farthest thing that comes to mind when I do these.
Okay, the
But I'm
Prosperous
glad
Guard.
you
Okay, Prosperous Guard actually gave an affirmation to me, which is super cool. I get affirmations too. So I guess I will give it to myself unless someone else wants to give it to me.
We could all read it. We'll each read one card. Too.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
there we go.
Thanks,
You
guys.
guys ready?
Yeah.
All right.
Strix.
Wait.
Yes.
Go. You are a fresh.
Cajoling.
Jabberwocky.
That's amazing.
What is a fresh cajoling Jabberwocky sound
A
like?
fresh, cajoling Jabberwocky. First, Strix fact. Strix has battled many pythons in the jungles of South America. Only one made it into the Hyper RPG studio. You do the math.
That's pretty awesome. Oh, man.
That was a
Fresh,
good one.
cajoling Jabberwocky. So it'd be like, woo woo. Woo woo woo.
Oh, man.
Woo woo woo.
Holy cow.
You can see that, right? That was
This
clear.
is like life in our
Illuminating.
apartment every day. This is just like a synopsis or like a shot of our domestic life.
OB and beats.
I see the
Yes.
drunk lace helping our Strix fact.
Okay,
Wow.
so Lord QQ, this is going to be our last affirmation for now. So please continue to donate and subscribe. We're going to keep a running tally during the show while we discuss these things. And towards the end of the show, we'll open it back up for these awesome affirmations. So you can also affirm each other on Twitter. Just use the hashtag Weekly Affirmations or Game Feels. So that way I can see it and know that you guys are being awesome to each other. So please use those hashtags. You can also use those hashtags again. Hashtag Weekly Affirmations or Game Feels with a Z to tag fan art, to tag discussions about what we're going to be doing today, because we want your interaction during this roundtable. That's what they're for, is directly interacting with you about the topic at hand. So please ask us questions, give us comments, and use those hashtags. You can also do it here in chat, but just in case you need another avenue, there it is.
Yeah, I've seen some awesome fan art by the community.
it's been
Man,
so
they
great.
created some great stuff.
Yeah.
They've been really receptive and positive. What is that?
That last one is for you to give to me.
Oh my god.
Yep.
So wait, so 1, 2, 3, right?
Yep,
All
1, 2,
right.
3.
No, or at least
That's the discard.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Thank you. You know this
we're
better.
gonna go back to the Jabberwocky again if we did that.
Oh man. Okay.
Oh.
Okay. Strix, my love, you are a confident, cooing unicorn.
Oh.
Did I do that okay?
Yes. you did
All
that.
right, great.
Confident cooing unicorn.
What does a confident, cooing unicorn sound like?
I just imagine the Pegasus from Hercules, who's like a bird. Like it makes bird sounds.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's
Remember
not.
that? But it's okay. So it's like.
That sounds pretty good.
It sounds
There
very,
you go.
Sounds
very
legit.
confident.
So that is our last affirmation for right meow, but we are not done with them. We're gonna keep
Thank
a
you.
tally of what's going on. But Final Fantasy IX Master brought up a good point. We forgot to do our 3 favorite things today.
Oh,
So
okay.
a tradition on this show to keep us positive and to welcome the weekend is to say 3 things that we like just right now, how we're feeling. So I'm gonna start out, but each of you will have to tell us 3 things. And today I really like, what do I really like? Ooh. I like sushi that has avocado in it, because I can eat that literally every day forever. I really like cat toys that have catnip in them, because my cat will go insane and it's really funny to watch. And the third thing that I like is Laura QQ, because she's really awesome and she works really hard all the time. Got it. So, those are my 3 things. Sushi, cat toys, and Laura QQ. What do you like this week?
I make some shameless plugs for around town. And say I can list 3 of my favorite breakfast places.
Sure, go for
Yeah.
it.
I love Cousins in Redmond, which has amazing waffles and pancakes. And I like Pancake Chef down toward Renton, also for their pancakes.
I'm sensing a theme.
They'll put
Wow.
or your waffles, which they'll put bacon or ham into your waffle for you. They'll just bake it right in and then top it with ham.
It's a lot of
So if you're
ham.
a big fan of ham, and which I am, and my third would be Beth's Cafe.
Where's
which,
that
like,
at?
That one's near Green Lake, and
Oh,
it's
okay.
and like I think you can walk to the lake itself in Green Lake, so it is in Green Lake, not near it. And that's a classic 24-hour diner here in Seattle,
Sweet, good
where you
to
can
know.
actually go at any hour of the day.
It's very important for gamers like us who don't
Yes.
sleep at weird hours.
Yeah.
What are your 3 favorite things?
What
are your 3 favorite things, chat?
Let's see here. We'll do food theme. So I like barbecue.
He likes barbecue a lot.
Yes, I do.
Affirm.
I really liked Gamer X.
Aw.
Man, that was I felt like it was such a great con and well taken care of and such a great community. And I like watching her cat like chase her around from room to room, like following his mommy. It's really kind of adorable how he just like, he says wherever she is, he's like meow, 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 wherever you are. And this is kind of cute to watch. So
Aw,
those are the 3
true.
things I like.
Kind of like a dog,
Yeah,
less
he's
like a cat.
he is kind of dog-like in that regard. Yeah. He's a mama's boy, for sure.
No.
You want me to go?
Yeah.
So, my 3 favorite things this week. One is the sumo rice bowl from Samurai Noodle next to Wajimaya. I had that for the first time and I can't stop thinking about it. And it's been a week and a half. And I need to go back and get it again. Second thing is definitely the LGBT gaming community.
Yeah.
Gamer X was amazing, and I've never experienced a weekend like that in my life where no matter who I talked to, I knew that everyone was supporting each other, which, you know, obviously you guys have this amazing community here on Hyper RPG too, so you all get it. but like everyone I met was an instant friend at GamerX, and that's amazing. It just doesn't happen. And third thing is naps.
Oh yeah.
I'm still recovering from GamerX, so I have been taking many naps right in the middle of the day.
Are you
It's
more
wonderful.
like a short nap or a long nap person?
I think I want to be a short nap person, but more often than not, I'm like, oh, that was 2 hours. That was too long. I messed up.
I'm more of the 2-hour nap variety myself. Oh, Binky says Strix Consort loves making the sound effects for the affirmations.
Yes.
That is true.
That is not true.
Dutch Teddy says, my father recovering after his visit to the emergency room. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Support from everywhere for the situation. Also awesome. And Hyper RPG. Aw, you guys are so cool.
Yeah. Community is pretty awesome.
Cream cheese frosting and fish together?
No, Oxford comma. They're separate.
Oh, okay. Oxford.
Okay.
Got it. I was like, that's interesting. You do you.
I mean, I'll try it. You know, maybe
Oh,
put some ham on
Wow,
it.
that's a ton of
Whoa.
bits.
Oh,
Look
That's
at those
awesome.
bits rain down.
Holy cow.
Cool.
Come down.
Chum Chum Jim says, my 3 favorite things are this week donating 1K to Hyper. Damn.
That's pretty amazing.
Getting the Yellow Bits badge and a full cup.
Holy cow.
You are on it, Chum Chum Jim.
That's pretty amazing.
Thank you
yeah.
so much.
Awesome. You're a rock star.
That
That's
is
pretty
definitely
amazing.
true. Okay, so I see that we have some people in chat that hopefully will be asking lots of questions or making comments about Bleed today, because this conversation depends on you guys too. So let's start with the basics. What is Bleed and why are we talking about it? So the reason why we are talking about Bleed is because it's important for you to know about if you're going to be playing RPGs that involve feelings, which are all RPGs, most RPGs. I would say in general, if you're playing games, you probably need to know what this is. Not because it's dangerous or weird, but just because it helps you be more empowered to make better choices for yourself when you are playing with emotional content. Because as you guys know, safety is awesome and it just makes you have a better time. So what Bleed is actually an academic term. I didn't coin it. But my friend, Emily Carebass, who is one of the only other gaming academics who studies LARP in the US, came up with this term a few years ago now in one of her papers. And bleed is pretty simple. It is when emotions on one side of an ego boundary, meaning you or your character, bleed over into the other side. For example, let's say that in real life, I don't like you. I just don't like him.
Wow.
And I sit down at a gaming table with him, and our characters are supposed to like each other. But because I don't like him in real life, my character acts like they don't like him either. That's bleed, because the character is supposed to be doing one thing, but your real life attitudes are infecting the character. That's called bleed in. There's also bleed out. So for instance, let's say that we don't know each other, but we start playing a game together, and then I get a big crush on you because my character has a crush on your character, oh my god, and then what do I do with these feelings? That is bleed out, because the things that are happening in game are affecting how you feel out of game. So, questions from the audience. Does that explanation make sense so far to you? And then questions on the panel here. Does that align with your understanding of what bleed is?
Yes.
Yeah, yes,
100%.
definitely.
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
Although I'll admit I've never heard bleed in, bleed out until today, but I've heard bleed used in a lot of different contexts.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's actually really great to clarify.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Bleed in,
Makes it even more specific.
coming
Yeah,
into the
very
character.
specific.
Bleed out, bleeding out of the character to you, the person. There are other things associated with bleed tangentially that we're actually not going to talk about today because it's too big for scope, but that is ego bleed, and that's when you start to change over time as a person because of the content that you're playing over a long period. That's different. That's actually very different.
That's a really great topic, though.
It is a great topic.
Yeah, can I
We'll
come
have to
back
see
for that
later.
one?
Yeah.
Part two.
Part two. But bleed, when you say just the word bleed and you're not using the term ego bleed, it means immediate emotions right now. It does not mean personality changes over time or integration of stuff over time. It means in this room right now, the emotions that you're feeling. So it's more ephemeral and short term. Though, you know, those feelings can persist, which is a thing that we will talk about. So, let's see. Oh, you guys are still talking about your 3 things. Awesome.
Everyone understands.
Everyone understands.
Yeah.
Good. I'm
Awesome.
good at explaining things sometimes. So, given that that's bleed, I pose a question to you.
That was a good question right now.
What's that?
Do you think bleed has the potentiality to be emotionally damaging to a person in real life, whether it's bleed in or bleed out?
So that is an excellent question.
Yeah.
And the answer to that is yes.
Yes.
Bleed in itself is not good or bad. I was actually going to pose a question to the panel, be like, is bleed good or bad? But it really depends on the context for the bleed and what that fallout actually looks like. So, panel, now that I've actually already answered that question, in general, how do you feel about bleed for yourself? Is it a good thing, or is it a bad thing, or is it a mixed bag?
Oh, it's definitely a mixed bag in my experience. Because if you think about it, bleed is, we're talking about feelings and emotions. You can't really label feelings and emotions as good or bad. Like, if you were to say blanket across this board that feelings are bad, that's not going to get you in a good place.
That's true.
Because feelings can be good.
I think it's contextual.
Yes.
I think it's the situation and how it's digested, and whether we can take a step back from the bleed and then analyze it and like keep some distance from it, or at least analyze it, right? So
If you know where bleed is happening.
right. So like maybe I can give an example of bleed that happened with me, and then and say like how that could have gone badly, but it didn't. I was playing Emily Care Boss's game, which this is appropriate for the conversation. Under My Skin, and Under My Skin is a romance, part of a romance trilogy. So it's about romantic encounters, and I was playing across from my friend Rachel, who my character was supposed to be attracted to her character. And we role played out over the course of the game, and it was really awesome, and it was intense. And at the end of it, like, you know, just the chemistry between our characters was really strong. And I walked away from the game feeling that like Ajit, had a crush on Rachel, the person, the human being, because of playing Under My Skin. And it took a few days of like, I mean, like it didn't like last for long, but it was like a couple of days of going, okay, the whole game is geared to create romantic, emotional attachments between these characters, so it's natural that I might feel a crush for the player who played the object of my attraction. But let me take a step back and let me analyze that and go, that's just the construct of the game, and that's not actually, like, there's no basis for that crush besides the construct of the game and the emotions that played out through the game. And so it was really great. Rachel and I are really great friends still to this day, but that game created an emotional response that was a crush, and that like it lasted for a couple of days. So
That's pretty cool.
yeah, and so I don't think it was negative. I think it was a positive, but it also took me being a little bit mature about it and kind of having like the ability to look at and go, what's happening here? Why am I feeling this way? Why am I feeling this way? Is it a basis in reality? Do I actually know Rachel? I don't know Rachel. I know her character.
There's a spider on me. I'm sorry.
Oh.
I flipped it away from you.
Oh, that was nice.
Yeah.
It was good.
Subtle.
So I thought that was great.
So Mel, how do you personally feel about bleed?
So I started doing tabletop when I was in high school, and it was actually, while I was in high school, my primary form of flirting. So
Really?
yes, I was pretty weird kid, hanging out with the weird kids. So it was a really good way for me to hang out with people and like get all the social interaction. And also most of the people that we played with were boys, which I liked. So I used it for that a lot, and that's how I met like my first boyfriend, blah blah blah. But like having all those experiences up through my early 20s, now when I play, I find myself to be a much more reserved person when I play characters, because I'm afraid of either falling back into those habits, or I don't feel 100% able to be vulnerable with my playing party. Like even if they're friends, like there's a level of vulnerability I know I can fall to if I'm not careful. So I normally make characters that are more fun to play than meaningful, if that makes sense.
Because you're avoiding the...
Yeah. So every once in a while, I have that longing for like a deep, meaningful game, but have not pulled that trigger for a bit.
Do you want
to write that one down?
Yeah, that's a good one.
So I'm gonna be honest. I started out being freaking terrified of bleed. Like, I would hit the highway as soon as I thought that there was any bleed happening anywhere in my game, because I was not really able to deal with that. I just didn't have the resources for it. And so for a long time, I was actually scared of LARPing specific styles of LARP, especially Nordic LARPs, because they're very emotional heavy, and they're sometimes designed for bleed. We'll actually talk about designing for bleed here in a little bit, but I was very much on the nope train, like nope, right out of town. And it is only through very like cautious and very slow exploration over time that I've been like, oh, okay, how's that feel? Okay, how's that feel? And now I've gone to a place where like I can have a little bit of bleed sometimes and be like, oh, look, I'm feeling bleed. Oh, look, I have a crush on this person. Or, oh, I'm really mad at them. Isn't that weird? And recognize it for what it is, which is bleed, and go, huh, okay, cool. Well, I'm just gonna let that emotion do its thing, and then I'm done. But it took me personally a really long time to be comfortable with bleed, like at all. Like I was just freaking terrified. So, and now I sit here in front of a live audience and do bleed all the time. Yay! So that's my personal experience with bleed. It is only, I would say recently, within the last 2 or 3 years, where I've even considered that bleed could be a good thing. But I definitely am in the camp now that like bleed itself is not bad or good. But it can have good or bad effects depending on the context and how people are dealing with it.
Makes
So
sense.
that was me.
There's some really good questions that have been like floating past here.
Yeah, do you want
I
to
caught-
tackle one?
I caught one of them. Sure. I mean, I think they're talking about it right now. Is bleed a reason to avoid playing evil characters? Does it bleed into your persona? And I actually think that goes into ego bleed.
bleed.
Yeah, a little
Yeah.
into ego bleed, but I don't know if you want to go into that territory or not. But let's avoid that for the moment and say, well, I would say like ongoingly it can be a problem. But I've played a lot of antagonistic characters, and so that's been challenging because I've seen bleed in and bleed out with that. Playing an antagonist, I felt the bleed out I think maybe bleed out from 2 different directions. So I felt like players who played opposite me thought I was actually Ajit, the human being, was an antagonistic
Yes,
person.
I've had that problem.
You and I both together in games have had that problem. And so they thought of us as antagonistic people, and I felt you and I have been treated not so great sometimes by people who thought we were our characters. And so that was really hard. And then interestingly, like, my response to that is to also get angry. So I wonder if that's some kind of level of bleed as well, because I'm like, well, what the hell's going on here? I'm getting treated badly because I'm playing an antagonist. So maybe there's a little bit of like, I don't know if that's bleed or just like a response to that, but it was tough. I don't know if I think playing an ongoing character, but they actually get to the actual character question. Playing an ongoing character that is evil, I think can be, over a long-term basis, can be
Yeah,
problematic.
don't do it for too long.
I think like one-shots are fine, but like a campaign setting or like something you're playing a character for like a year.
So let me
that's
tell
always
you a
evil.
story. So way back in my LARP days, when I was running a tri-state LARP organization, I was NPCing as a bad guy, essentially. This really evil governor with this really creepy mask who was like undead and bad. And since I was the organizer, like, I was real nice to everybody before the game and was like, hey, welcome, sign up, do the thing, here's how you play, blah, blah, blah. And then I would play this character. And you guys know me, like, I can play a bad guy. And so every time I was done, I would take the mask off, people would just, like, flee. Like, they would be like, oh God, here she comes. And they would, like, literally scurry away. And for the longest time, I was like, what is going on? Like, why is everyone terrified of me? And it turns out they weren't terrified of me, they were not separating my character from who I was. And so that's actually, fun story, this is how scorpion cookies came about. Because I was like, okay, if I can't convince that I'm nice because I need to talk to them and convince them, I'll bake them cookies, and then they'll have to think that I'm nice. So that's how scorpion cookies came about, was I was like, okay, after the game, I made a ritual of like giving cookies to everybody and being like, hey, I'm Strix, here's some cookies, I made these for you. I'm not really a bad guy. And that's how that
Yeah, it's a
how
really
that
cool
happened.
story.
That's clever.
Yeah, that's
So
good.
I saw a question earlier up, I think it was from DBZ9140, saying, hey, I missed this whole bleed thing. What is it again? So really quickly, bleed is when emotions that either you are feeling or your character are feeling get mixed together. So there's bleed in, which is when you as a person, say, don't like someone in real life, but you're playing a character that likes the other person's character, and you can't do it because you're just acting mean, right? That's bleed in because your personal life is affecting your character. Bleed out is the opposite, where your characters maybe like each other, so then you start liking each other in real life and you have all these wiggly feelings because you can't keep it separated. So that's what bleed is. It's the crossing of feelings across an ego boundary, if you want to be really, really scientific here. So hopefully that is an explanation.
There was a good question about catharsis, whether it can be used playing an aggressive character can be a positive thing in terms of getting emotion out.
I mean, I think so. I don't know what you think.
I don't know if I'm not so sure that ties exactly to bleed, but that's a different...
Well, in question of like, in the topic of aggressive or playing a villain character, I don't know, but I can definitely attest to catharsis through playing out someone else's experience. And I can attest to playing situations where you encounter things in yourself that are genuine to who you are, like real feelings that you then have to deal with.
I think that as long as everyone in the group is aware that that is like the purpose of that character, the purpose of that game, that it's a great idea.
Oh yeah.
But if you are doing that privately and personally and the other people aren't aware of it,
Ooh, that's bad.
that would turn out bad more than good in my experience.
Yeah, it could be.
I do want to just double down really quick and say again, like reiterating what you were talking about earlier, self-awareness is a huge component. If you're it's just as difficult to deal with emotions that bleed in from a character that you've made up as they are to deal with your own emotions. And if you're not dealing with your own emotions well, then and you know, at least in the world I live in, the country I live in, there's a lot of stigmatism against getting therapy. There's a lot of stigmatism against getting help. And it really shouldn't be like that. Like, self-awareness and the quest to self-understand and self-repair should be prioritized.
Yeah.
And you should never look at a situation and say, gosh, I've been playing this RPG or I've been playing this LARP and it's had a lot of bleed over into me and I'm feeling a lot of feelings. That's legit.
Yeah.
That's a good reason to go seek out therapy. Just like anything else, any life experience. So yeah, self-awareness is a huge key. If you're gonna deal with bleed or if you're gonna deal with feelings at all, self-awareness is key.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I feel like when I was younger, there was a lot of like, and I think this ties into toxic masculinity, but there was a lot of like, you don't feel emotions in RPGs, man. Like, man up, just be just a game. Don't feel any emotions. And you're playing these intense characters and you're playing these intense situations. And then you're just like, walk it off, don't feel anything about it.
Yeah.
You're just supposed to be like this robot that played this intense RPG. I'm like, why did I play a game if I'm not going to feel any emotions? Obviously, I'm going to feel some emotions. That's why I came to play an RPG, was to experience something different that is me. And so I think being reflective and self-aware and actually analyzing and thinking through these emotions and taking a step back is really positive and awesome and can be great. But you do need to be aware that this is happening.
Yes.
And that's a great conversation to have with your GM or DM to be like, if you are having those types of feelings, to maybe either talk with them personally, or if your group is all cool with it, to have like a non-group or a non-like play session meeting where you all talk about things is super important too, to make sure that everyone does have the same goals and things like that out of the session, if those haven't been put in place. Like sometimes you'll be halfway through a campaign and you're like, okay, these characters ended up way different than we expected.
Yes.
And maybe we should all talk it out a little bit.
Yes.
If you guys learn anything from me at all, ever, communication is key in games.
Yeah.
You have to communicate. That's what the X card is for. That's what discussions like this is for. Communication only makes you a better player. It makes you better able to connect with the other players at your table and to have more fun. So anytime there is any problem ever in your gaming table and you're like, what should I do? The first thing you should always go to is, how are we communicating about this? If we are not, we should start, right? That is square one every single time. Yes, I agree too.
I should be looking at chat more often.
There's some really good questions here.
Yeah, there's so many great questions,
Yeah,
guys.
like it's hard to catch up.
It's hard for us to catch up. So feel free to, if we don't catch your question, put it in one more time, but don't spam, because then we'll just not read any of them fast enough.
Yeah.
So maybe wait a few minutes. I know I've been writing some down. There is something I did want to address. Someone said, should we use bleed as a way to self-medicate? So I am not a doctor and I am not a psychologist, and so I'm not going to give you any sort of psychological or medical advice. But self-medicating is a form of coping when you need help with something, right? So if you need help with something, please get help with something. As Grapon said, like, the help is there. Unfortunately, it is stigmatized a lot in our general culture, but it's super integral. And I personally have used games to explore a lot of issues for myself over time, carefully, and it has absolutely helped. But self-medication is, when I think of that word, I think of like numbing or escaping, and that's definitely something that you don't want to do. Games in general are an escapism, right? But there's definitely a spectrum of a good amount of escapism, and then way too much escapism where you're not even living in your real life anymore, and you're kind of checked out, and you're spending all of your mental and emotional energy in a place that doesn't exist. I know, because I have been there and done that. And maybe we can talk about that a little bit.
Definitely.
But that is actually not good if you were doing that. And it's something that I had to pull myself out of when I was younger. And I'm gonna let other people add their experiences about that too.
Yeah. So when Strix first brought up the idea of bleed, that like my brain instantly went to like all of these negative experiences that I've had in my life. But you know, talking about the escapism route, my first marriage went south.
Wow.
So I fell into WoW to the point that I was playing 14 hours a day and like endlessly. Like I had my computer in another room and I ended up putting a bed in there.
Wow.
And like only leaving to eat and like shower.
Yeah.
I didn't have a job. It was just a mess. But so eventually I was like, oh my God, like this is what my life has become. I've stopped hanging out with any of my friends. I've stopped doing any of the hobbies I enjoyed. And I just sit here and play this. Not a stupid game, it's a game, but like, you know, playing this stupid game all day. And luckily I actually had friends in WoW that were like, you have been here a long time. Like, what is your / played at? And by the time I quit WoW, I was at like over 100 days. So I think 200. It was something absolutely ridiculous. And they're all like, you need to figure out what's going on. And I ended up getting my first divorce and all this other stuff happened. And, you know, like I then had a more healthy relationship with games, but for a while, like, you know, Draenor and Azeroth were a more friendly environment than my home.
Wow.
So, but I'm really glad for my friends that like noticed.
So it sounds like there's some positive elements to that and some negative elements to it, and I think that's the complexity of bleed and the complexity of these situations that they're not black and white, and they're not good or bad. There's a whole range of spectrum of emotion that'll come with bleed in and bleed out. I definitely get that. I've certainly had the same experiences too.
Has anyone at this table kind of like gone into the dark side and come out with that? Because I know I have. Sounds like you have.
That's interesting. I wanted to put a pin in that really quick, that there's a beautiful array of people gathered here for this panel, because my experience was playing, you know, just adventure games where the emotional investment wasn't much more than watching Saturday morning cartoons, and over time coming into a scene, an art scene, and a group and a community that brought terms like bleed to the table and brought concepts into games that brought that into the table. So Mel, it was interesting to hear from you how you started out kind of bleed intensive and learned to reserve. And I came to this, and you know, Whitney, you talked about how you came into this against your will, almost kind of dragged and screaming, right? I came and just stumbled toward this direction and found myself playing these games that ask for this stuff. And yeah, my initial response was kind of like, what?
Run away!
Really? But I mean, that's because, you know, like in most scenes, whenever you get the first dose of something, people don't come to you and say, hey, let's play a game where we really think about whether or not your paladin, you know, is struggling with his faith. Instead, they're like, here's a Nordic LARP, you know, and they put that right in front of you, and you're like, whoa. So I don't know. I like that we all have this spectrum of how we came into it, and so these perspectives are going to be very helpful, I think. Yeah.
I mean, maybe another story is like the first time you and I RPG roleplay together.
I kind of got him killed.
But like that was an interesting experience, right? You did get me killed. You have a habit of killing me.
That
in
is
games.
not true.
Yes, you killed me in the.
Okay.
You killed me in like.
Back up.
She killed me in a game. It's definitely interesting.
Yes.
Interesting's a good word.
I got a katana through my stomach the last time we roleplayed together. You cut
It
me
was
in half.
epic and awesome.
You cut me in half. That sucked.
You wanted me to.
I didn't want you to kill me.
That's bleed in many levels.
Wow. Clearly some bleed going on here
There was some
between that
literal
like
bleed.
last encounter. But the
and real
first
quick-
encounter, do you want to talk about it?
Sure. So we were at a con in Southern California. We were playing a game called Exodus 2020? 2220?
I don't remember the name
It's
of it.
based off of a Bible chapter. It was actually written by one of my LARP friends who lives in Southern California. And basically the gist is you're in medieval Europe and you're in a medieval European town and there is a witch scare. And so the townspeople start lynching witches and they try to get rid of all the witches. The ironic twist at the end of the game that you find out is there are no witches, you were just killing each other out of hysteria. And so basically it's this whole back and forth of like, well, it's not me, it's you, and paranoia and hysteria. And so a couple people got gacked right in the beginning. And my thing was just like, I don't want to die. And we didn't know each other.
We didn't know, but we had talked already.
We had talked.
So, but I think that the context is important because
Because there was some bleed in, I admit. Okay, fine.
Yeah, so there's a few things going on. Like, you should tell the real story.
Yeah.
So, like, we had met and I really liked him, but I was in a different relationship at the time, and so I was gonna be, like, good about it and, like, not engage with that, and I didn't, actually. But as a result, instead of just being like, no, that's fine, I'm cool, I was like, no! like G-force.
Yeah, and I thought she was blowing me off, and I thought she really didn't like me. So I think when it came to the point where the town decided they were going to vote who which was, and you were really one of the leaders of that.
I was not.
Okay, you were in the center of the maelstrom, and you pointed at me, and you're like, "You
Who's
are a
bleeding at
witch."
Who's bleeding at who?
No, that's the point of the story, is that when you said that I was a witch, and like the whole town turned on me and had me like killed or whatever they did to me, burned at the stake. I thought you were using. I actually thought there was some bleed in, that you didn't like me, and that's why you had me killed, and that this was like personal because you didn't like me.
No.
But I didn't know that. So I guess we're discovering things now, right? I mean, obviously I know that you did like me, but at the time I had that feeling. So I guess there's some bleed out from my getting killed, because I was extra mad at you after that. I was like, wow, she really doesn't like me, and I don't think I like her either now. I was really upset. Clearly it all ended well, but
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you mad at me.
No, it's fine, clearly, it's good. But at the time, it was an interesting place of feeling various emotions because of the context that was going outside of the game between us.
Metagame. Oh, metagame.
Yeah.
So Lizzie the Bold chimed in that basically she kind of did the same thing as you, Mel, where you were getting almost your real feelings as substitute from the game feelings.
Yeah.
And that is not, as we found out, all of us sustainable over time.
No.
So if you are doing that, this might be, a good check. Maybe start to try to change your behaviors.
Well, and I want to thank who posted some of the links in chat to some organizations that have chat rooms and mental health resources and stuff like that. Thank you so much. If you want to do that once or twice more during this show, that would be super awesome. And if you are experiencing any of that, depression and etc., and you find yourself escaping, like, go talk to somebody. Everybody, like, in my experience working with people that are in the chat rooms and stuff like that on those sites, like, everyone seriously wants to help, and usually they're not paid, they just really care about it. So
Yeah.
go participate.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say in solidarity with you, Mel, that like I didn't do WoW, but I mushed. I don't know how many of you know they're mushed. I guess you know what mushing is. Yeah.
I mushed.
Yeah, a bunch of us mushed. I know.
It's like an age thing, right?
Yeah, I know.
Well, you're like,
I know AJ and Lizzie the Bold mushed. I think maybe that's where they met, but I don't know. And I had the same thing, like 14 hours a day. My life was falling apart. I was in deep depression. I did this for like years. I mean, on and off for years. Like I would quit and I'd go back into it. And there were some positives. And one of my best friends that I know, Astra, is like, I've known her for forever, and she's from a mush. But, and then Tyler, fun fact, like Tyler from Death from Above and I were on a mush together years ago, and we only discovered it recently. But
Mushrooms are like the Illuminati.
there's a weird thing.
mushes and mucks and news are all text-based. So like a chat room where you can choose different rooms, a mush is like a map experience. So you log in and you're in one room, and you have to actually like hit like W to go west and N to go north. And mushes, I think, are the ones with leveling systems.
No, that's
No, that's
Muds.
a mud.
That's
Sorry.
Muds.
Oh. But yeah, so Muds, you could actually have a character and level up and like kill little text-based creatures, while Mucks and Mushes were text-based. And they had their own levels of moderation and everything. I was an RP wizard. I was the one who decided whether or not characters got in at 14 years old.
Nice.
Yeah.
I remember those days. Power drunk 14-year-olds.
Oh my god, I made my own mansion vampire castle.
Yeah. But it was.
Gave me building rights.
But in the same way as you had like this strong, there were a lot of negatives, and you were on it too long. I did the same thing, but the positives were that like when everything else was falling apart in my life, the positives from mushing and the positives from the people I had there and the relationships I had there meant a lot to me, and I got a lot of affirmation, a lot of positivity from it. So like it was a mixed bag, and I needed to step back. I realized like this wasn't positive in the overall, that I needed to not do it in the same context of like 14 hours a day.
Yeah.
But the emotions were real. Like you had characters and you had these encounters, and they were great. And so there were positives and negatives.
Yeah. I remember characters dying and being like, can't deal with this.
Yeah.
And yes, someone mentioned the Guild, the web series by Felicia Day, being like the prime example of bleed. Yes, that's just blood everywhere.
Yes.
Which is good. That's correcting from the early 80s when Mazes and Monsters came out with Tom Hanks, where the assumption was that bleed would make you turn into your character and wander into the New York City subway system.
What are those pamphlets? The Chick Tracks?
Yes.
That they did
Oh, those
you
are
mean
terrible.
Dark Dungeons?
Yeah, those are terrible.
Dark Dungeons. If you don't know what that is, you should go look it up.
Yeah,
it's
go
amazing.
Google Chick Track Dark Dungeon.
Yes, that's about as accurate as saying like, oh, I've learned about psychology because I watched Fight Club. Not gonna help.
Yeah.
It's only gonna distract you and misinform you.
So there are some interesting questions that I actually saw phrased different ways multiple times, and that is when you are in real life relationships with people, maybe you're in a marriage or whatever, poly, and you have bleed from games, what is that landscape? What happens?
Well, I'm
feel like
giggling.
Mel's-
I'm
Mel's-
giggling.
Mel, this is Mel.
So one of the worst fights in my second marriage, which is also over. Hey, what are you gonna do? Right? Was over a staff that dropped a Nexramus.
What?
No, are you kidding me?
Never play the same armor and gear spec as your significant other in a raiding guild.
Non-WoW players.
Yeah, no, okay, so there was we were in a raiding guild and we both used the same stat set.
First mistake.
Yeah, first mistake. So, some mace dropped or whatever, and it was like my best in slot item, but my husband was playing a healer, so he got priority, and it was not his best in stat item, but the guild still gave it to him. We had one of the worst fights over that. And then we were like, okay, I'm switching spec. I can't handle this. It's not worth it. And I had to go re-gear. But there we go. So there's some bleed.
Yeah,
That
that's
is some
pretty intense.
intense bleed.
Yeah.
Over
So we
gear.
got a divorce.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Did you
Not
decide,
over
like,
that. No,
Holy
not
cow.
over that. But
Irreconcilable differences. Gear specs.
it was a great example of our communication problem.
Wow, that's intense.
It's fine now. We're still friends. He sends me pictures of the dog. It's good.
Oh.
That's nice.
How about maybe us also on the positive side?
Yeah.
I'm thinking about the fairy tale game.
Go for it.
We both played. You played more of an antagonist. I could have gone either way. You played Goldilocks, right?
Yeah.
And Goldilocks was sort of an antagonist in that game.
She was assigned to be.
Yeah, she was assigned to be an antagonist, and my character was Peter Pan, and I was sort of set up to be neutral to begin with, and I could go either way. And
But I brought him to the dark side.
well, we were dating at the time we played this game, and there were not too many antagonists to begin with. And I felt like there was pressure on you, that there was like a little bit unfair ganging up on you.
Antagonists usually carry the weight of a LARP. Like,
Right.
let's just be honest. Like, they are what makes LARPs interesting. Without an antagonist, why are you playing?
Yeah,
Same.
I mean, you need somebody.
Conflict is what
you
the base
need,
of a story is.
Yeah, you need conflict. Otherwise, it's we're just having tea.
Yeah.
So that's nice. But like we're there for the conflict and we're there for the drama. But your character was, I think, I felt a little bit ganged up on, and I was very protective of you. And so Peter Pan that was written to be kind of neutral and could go either way, I definitely shifted it to him to be on your side, and that was definitely bleed in, right? Yes.
Bleed in.
Yes. My real life emotions of love for you and, our romantic, being a couple, had Peter Pan and Goldilocks, not really a couple, but kind of like a couple, essentially.
cahoots.
Yeah, they were definitely working together and supporting each other. And that was definitely bleed in, and that was nice. Actually, because we were so isolated and outnumbered in that game, I think it was really nice to have that bleed in and feel that we supported each other.
Mm-hmm. Do you think we could play characters that had fundamental problems with each other?
I mean, we played, what was the samurai game?
Oh, yes.
But we secretly loved each other the whole time. I mean, characters that didn't like each other, really
Ooh,
didn't.
really hated each other.
Yeah, really. Could we do that? Do you think we could do that? Would we want to do that?
You were a little pissed at me, I think, in Urban Shadows.
Was I?
One of the games where I was kind of blowing you off when you were kind of had romantic feelings for me.
yeah.
Yeah, remember that? So you did not take that well.
No, I didn't.
Why didn't you tell that story?
So that was a while ago. I'm not sure if I remember. So we were playing a game of Urban Shadows at Metatopia? Dreamation?
I think it might have even been Gen Con, but is it Gen Con or Dreamation?
We were at a game con. East of here somewhere. And we were playing a game of Urban Shadows. And we were playing, a Dijin kind of thing?
Yeah, I think, I don't remember. I don't remember what I was playing.
Oh, I remember what happened now.
Yeah.
So he was basically preoccupied with his storyline because it was pretty cool, and he was like, I'm gonna find my heritage and magical stuff.
Yeah, I was an Indian mage.
Yeah. And I was an oracle who was like, oh no, I have terrible nightmares. I need somebody. And so I was like, hello, somebody. And he was like, I'm busy telling my story. And so I was like, I have hurt feelings, and I shouldn't because I'm a big girl role player, but they're hurt. And it wasn't obviously that effusive. But did we end up talking about it afterwards?
We did. We talked about it afterwards, and you were definitely a little upset at me for rebuffing you in the game. Mm-hmm. And I think my point of view was my character was kind of focused on his heritage and the things he was doing with his family, and so he wasn't so interested in a romantic entanglement with anybody at that point. And so I think you took it personally.
I took it personally.
Yeah.
I did take it personally.
So that was interesting. Bleed out from a romantic relationship that it was bleed in and bleed out.
It was a cycle. Bleed
it was a
in,
cycle.
And then bleed out.
Yeah.
So the bleed in was I wanted to have romantic feelings in character. The bleed out was that I was mad that they didn't happen.
I think this is the first time I've seen Strix embarrassed to the point of blushing.
Huh? What? No.
The Strix does not blush.
That's just makeup.
Yes. Her face just turns into fire, ready to incinerate anybody in her path.
That's what I have to live with.
Can I ask a question real quick about that story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you were conscious when you were making those decisions, Ajay?
That I could tell that she was starting to get upset with me, and
I mean, prior to that, when her character was saying, "Oh, hello, somebody," were you in character? I guess my question is, was your character saying, "Too busy," or were you saying, "No, I'm doing this with my character"?
I think you're following your character.
Yeah, I was really following my character,
Yeah.
and I was actually a little confused as to why your character was kind of hitting on me, because I was like, I don't really think my character's very attractive right now. He's pretty unhittable because he's just he's focused on his family crap, and so my brain was not in the romantic angle at all at that point. So I think I was a little confused. The player was a little confused, and my character was like, what's going on here? And so my character was confused too. But I think it was the character riding his path and just going the way he was supposed to be going.
Right.
And that caused some difficulty. So I think if we actually were at odds with each other, that would be really, I think that would be straining on a relationship.
Yeah.
Especially if we played a long-term campaign.
I wouldn't do it long term.
Yeah, I think we could do a one-shot, and then we really need to talk about it afterwards.
Have a debrief.
Yeah.
Oh, so Rubentruve says something interesting. That basically it could be a problem if you would probably end up with you picking out what you feel are real-world faults in the person and bringing them up in game.
I was trying to think of how to
So
say
this
that.
is a taboo. Don't do this.
Yeah.
Because you are going to cause problems if you. So this is an instance where bleed in is bad, right? Just legit. If you have real-world problems with a person, don't use the vehicle of a game to poke at them. Have real communication about your relationship outside of the game, so everyone understands what's going on, instead of taking pot shots at them because you have an alibi, because it's just my character, because everyone will know anyway that that's not true. So don't do that.
I think that's called passive aggressive.
Yes.
That's just passive
Well, we're in the
aggressive.
Pacific Northwest, so that's our...
I'm learning this. I'm a transplant. I'm from the New York area. We
you just do
Yeah,
it,
we just punch people.
You're just like, what the hell?
We're like, you're an asshole. Boom.
Yeah, I actually used to play with one of my exes, and we played board games together. And it got to the point where we couldn't sit next to each other playing Twilight Imperium, because in that game, which is huge and takes forever, it's easiest to be aggressive to the people on either side of you. So it got to the point where I would sit on the other side of the table to make sure that it was not the easiest choice for him, because I would get so upset if he attacked me at all. And I realized that was inappropriate for that game space. Like, it's Twilight Imperium, everybody's supposed to be hitting everyone. And so I went over there.
That is a good coping mechanism, right? If you get that something is not jiving, do something about it.
Yes, step away.
So I think I'd like to jump to another aspect of Bleed, which we actually don't talk about as gamers in general, because there's not usually a fourth wall with people outside watching us.
Yes.
But because we're here at Hyper RPG, there is a fourth wall with people on the other side of the screen watching us. And it actually changes Bleed in some ways, because audiences can become involved in Bleed too. So I think, as we've discovered as a community, especially over the last few weeks, audiences, you guys can actually feel Bleed when maybe one of our characters does something, and then you equate it to us, the hosts, or ourselves in real life. It's not a super big deal, but I noticed that it was happening. And so I wanted to bring this up in case you guys weren't aware of it either, and that, like, you can also have feelings about characters that you are watching, and you can transpose those onto real life people. And you might just want to, like, take stock for a minute and be like, do I not like this person? Or is it just this character that they were playing? Now, there are some gray lines, like, Jared Leto, for example.
Yes.
Is Jared Leto. And I think it's fair to say, like, not really a fan, right? But for people who are very clearly one persona when they're acting, and another persona when they're themselves, that you want to be careful about how you respect and interact with that person, because you may be attributing things to them that aren't actually a part of their personality, and that can be a little destructive. But it can also be a little disconcerting too, because then we're like, whoa, wait, who am I? Like, is that really me? And it can be very confusing as an actor, at least in my experiences, where audience has input into how you iterate on your character, especially with things like Death from Above and Corpse Sense. And so we pay attention to what you guys think of our characters and what you think of us. And whether we want to or not, we will adjust to sort of kind of fit in with what's going on or go with a certain flow. So it's a really interesting phenomenon that I've noticed particularly on this channel, and I wanted to know your guys' thoughts on good or bad Bleed, or kind of in-between Bleed that's been happening here on Hyper RPG. So I will give you a moment.
As someone who usually sits in chat, I will point out that the episode where you two played a single moment, I was glued to the screen because it was so hard not to look and see Strix and Strix consort and watch this relationship just beeline toward one of you killing the other person. And like, even though the game was like, this is how it's gonna go, watching you two in the context of you two is like, no. So and I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm sure everybody out there in chat was just like, oh no. It was beautiful. I don't want to label it as good or bad. It was. I could just say it's beautiful. Sometimes that's a great third option if you can't pick good or bad. Just call it beautiful. But it was pretty intense. It was really intense.
Yeah. It was a really great game, and I think I enjoyed it. I think it had more emotional weight to me because it was you playing opposite me, that we loved each other and hated each other, and that we fought and killed each other. You killed me.
He wanted it to happen that way. Let's just be clear.
Because I can definitely compare that to when I was watching Our Radios Are Dying with you and Emily.
Oh,
and
yeah.
the emotions were just as high, but they felt completely different.
Yeah.
Because I was watching two fictional characters play out this scenario, but it was so hard to dissociate my friends from the characters that were about to kill each other, and that was very, very different. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of our radios are dying, I will be completely honest. I may have had like a tiny little bit of a crush on Emily after the end of the game. Because it was such a powerful game and evocative and moving that like we were in it, right? You guys were there. You were in it. And so it was perfectly fine and natural. I was like, I actually said, Emily, I think I have a crush on you. It's right here. Do you want to come say anything, Emily?
Emily just gave a come hither look. I was like, hey, she's engaged, Emily. Just so we're clear, she is engaged.
It happened.
What the hell, Emily? Wow.
Let's not start the dramas.
Oh man. Some
Let's not
serious,
do that.
some mere bleed out going on here.
This is like
This is bleed out.
Some like love triangle stuff going on here. What the hell?
But
Wow.
I think that's okay and natural in these games, and it's better to be like, hey, by the way, this caused a little bit of a short-term crush, and now we're done, rather than being like, I'm not gonna talk about this, and I feel weird, and I'm gonna avoid this person's eyeballs. They're gonna know when you're avoiding their eyeballs. Like, we know when you're crushing on us, so you might as well talk about it because it's just quickly solved that way. So,
I'm seeing a lot of commentary in chat. A lot of this is being compared to actors to the Hollywood system.
Yeah.
And there's definitely some truth to that. I do like to always point out when I can that gaming, tabletop gaming and LARPing both, while they hold hands with the concept of storytelling and while they are very shared in other art forms like theater, they are a separate, different thing. Pretending to be a character in a LARP.
it's for you.
Yes, and it's also, yes, exactly. And there's other differences between playing a part on stage, in like a Black Swan situation, versus being in a LARP. A LARP is, a LARP and a tabletop game can both be immersive in a very, very different way. And it takes a different skill set, it takes a different type of self-reflection and self-awareness to tackle. So I like the parallels being drawn here, but don't forget that the parallels, while they illuminate some of the similarities,
not exactly
it's also
the same.
wise to keep track of how they're different.
Yeah.
For instance, you don't hear a lot of stories about actors saying that they went into their role and then stopped seeing anybody except for people that were in the play with them and stopped being their character. You don't see right, I'm picking a bad example. But like the experience of that, even in the situations, the fringe situations like that, that's different from the stories that you two have just told about your experience with online gaming.
Yeah.
That is not the same. So
Definitely. I want you to, in just a second, talk about playing as self.
Okay.
But first, if you are just joining us, this is Weekly Affirmations, the show about indie and freeform games, and today we are having a special roundtable, which we do every once in a while, where we discuss a topic that is very interesting to us and tangent to games. And today we are discussing bleed, which is the phenomenon when feelings cross the boundaries between player and character. So, Great Pawn, there's this concept in both LARPing and tabletop where you're not playing a character, you're playing as yourself, maybe in a different world or in a scenario in your world. How do you think that affects bleed? Like, is that designed for bleed?
Good question. So, first, a couple more bits of technology I'll throw out there. Two terms that I've heard floating around the interwebs are approximation game and ghosting. Approximation game is what I heard first for a tradition that we hear about, but it's never been super official. It's where you create yourself, but you create yourself in a system, usually in a traditional game, by approximating what you would be. Instead of building a character like you would by the rules. I remember one approximation game I played in, it was a White Wolf game where we determined how many dots we had in dodge by having a person stand 5 feet away from us with a Nerf Master Blaster, and the number of balls that they shot were 5. And so on a scale of 1 to 5, however many balls you dodged
That was
your
your
dodge rating.
Wow.
So that's the approximation part, right?
Wow. Okay.
Another term that I've heard is ghosting, and ghosting is a broad, general sense question. Like, that's the term. Jay Lee is actually, I think, the one who coined this phrase, and that's the term for when you're playing yourself. And of course, like everything, there's more subtle divergence. Like you said, there's the I'm going to play myself as a barbarian in D&D. Well, we've already set yourself as a loose term at that point. Whereas there are other immersive ghosting games where maybe you've got magic powers or maybe you've got something, but the game will involve you actually going around in your city, and it takes place in your city. It takes place you playing yourself and having to go to your job as part of it. So ghosting is something that we're really digging into. I think the LARP scene's really going to dig into it a lot more.
Another term for ghosting or a similar term or like a adjacent term would be close to home.
Yes.
Playing close to home.
Yeah, playing close to home. So
I'm loving hearing about this because I have never LARPed ever.
Oh.
There's so many cool tools in
yeah,
there.
Yeah.
So this
LARP.
is interesting.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think we call it playing close to home.
Okay.
And your community calls it ghosting.
I've heard a lot of different terms for
Yeah.
it. I mean, it's a thing, but how it's
Yeah.
used is hasn't really been recorded. Like as far as I know, I cannot think off the top of my head any game that says you play yourself in this.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are some LARPs
There
that
are
do
some.
it, but I couldn't think of them off the top of my head. And I certainly can't think of like, and here's your module for D&D where you're yourself.
Well, so let me jump in there and say not to divert too much, but we're both writing for a game called Misspent Youth that's going to be it's going to be featured on Tabletop, Will Wheaton's Tabletop next season. And so
Exciting.
we are, I'm super excited, and we're both writing for it. But I was looking at some of the play sets for it, and one of the play sets that says specifically, you are playing yourself.
Yes.
You are playing yourself in this world, and it's the real world, and here's the sort of situation that you're facing. And so that was really interesting. I looked at the playset, I was like, whoa, that's weird, awesome. So that was an example
Yes.
of an RPG
Yes.
that tells you to play you as yourself in this scenario.
And I know of one that's called To Face the Dragon's Fury, I think, or Face the Dragon's Wrath. And the setup for the game, it's a very short, like 30-minute hardcore focused game, uses a deck of cards, and the setup is Dragon shows up in your fill-in-the-blank home city where you're at now. Then the game takes place 2 years later. You are among the survivors. There are very few.
So it's you.
And it's you. But again, we're taking that step of going, it's you.
Imaginary
2 years after a dragon
Yeah.
destroyed Seattle. You'll be different, probably. You'll not be going to work at the QFC like you typically do. I think you asked me this because I have done a lot of work in my own private game design. The apex of this was a game I called Alterscape, where you played a heroic version of yourself, became the common term, or the common turn of phrase. Then later we started calling it your avatar, and you played a character that was you, but we added on necessary adventure components because the game was still very like, let's play adventure games in various worlds. And you would go from world to world, and each world was designed, created, and curated by the other people playing the game with you. And how you played a role in your own worlds was also a really interesting exploration. There was like, we had to build rules as we went. Like the first thing we learned was you're not allowed to pick the means by which you enter and leave the Alterscape. And that came after we started nailing down, like, no, you have to go in and you have to come back out. And you can't say that you're still there. Because that got weird. It got confusing. It's like, no, guys, I'm still in the Alterscape. Like, no, you're not. You're here at McDonald's with me.
Yeah.
You know, this is making it weird.
Yeah.
But in specific reference to Bleed.
Questions.
Maybe you want to answer Invader
Oh.
Cheney's question.
Yes.
If someone
Yeah.
approximates their own characteristics into a character they are playing, do you think this might make them more susceptible to bleed than if they just created a character by other means?
Invader Cheney has been up with some awesome
Yes.
questions.
Yeah. That's a wonderful question. A lot of the questions that are coming up are kind of asking for absolutes that really, honestly, first thing, it's context and it's person to person. The story I was about to tell is about a night where I was proposing a major rules change for Alterscape, where I was telling the group, like, what we should do is come up with a very tight approximation of who we are that's very, very honest and very real, and have everything else be a different color of ink or pencil color on the page. Have everything that's fictional about us be different and also be subjective and can change from world to world. And somehow this erupted in a really intense, emotional evening that ended poorly. Like, people were crying. The game was on hiatus immediately afterward because there was a lot of confrontation about, well, defining yourself. There was a difficulty with, like, basically picking out what is real and what defines really, approximation. Sorry, what was the question? Repeat the question.
It's okay. Does approximation
Makes you more or less
I-
susceptible.
I feel like personally, like if I were approximating, I would get more rigid. I would kind of bulk up and be like more constrained in the way that I was playing to protect myself.
I was gonna say that I think if I was in a context where I knew that everyone else was also approximating themselves, that it would be less easy for bleed to come in, that it would be harder because I know that we're all playing a game. I know that we're all being us, versus when it's all fantasy and it feels more like that would be subtext versus
Bye, Lady
overt.
Kakiu. We'll see you later. So I did see a question from Paximo, which is how do I personally, me Strix, deal with bleed now that I am playing for an audience?
Yeah.
For things like Death from Above, which is a constant character over many weeks, and here. And maybe you can attest to this, but my way of dealing is that the day after, Saturdays, I don't do a damn thing. I sit and I vegetate and I basically just let it all process in my brain.
That's good advice.
I don't really do anything else. Like I don't schedule things for Saturdays because I really need the downtime to get it all out of my system. So one of the things that I will do as a mechanism for releasing the bleed is I will sometimes get on Twitter and reflect on choreography as a third person. And I do this very specifically with you guys. I don't know if you knew why I was doing this, but I'm telling you now. So that I could differentiate choreography from myself and also to have you differentiate her from me so that I could get everything straight. So sometimes I will jump on Twitter on Saturday mornings and be like, choreography did this thing. And I will always use third person. And when people tweet at me about, you choreography, I will always very politely be like, hey, choreography is my character, I'm me. And that helps me sort of deal. I don't know if you have observations about what that process looks like from the outside.
I mean, it's interesting when you get back home after you've done both Weekly Affirmations and DFA back to back, you're on a real high, and I think it's both playing all of these games in a like a large span of time, but a compacted span of time, and also I think feeding off the community. Community is really positive and really supportive of you and the shows. So I think you're drawing a lot of energy and you come home filled with this energy, but I think you also give a lot of energy into your shows and into your characters. And so you're really high Friday night, but then Saturday you crash hard, and you pretty much just want to sleep in, and you don't want to really do a whole lot on Saturdays. You're just kind of chilled. You're like, hey, let's just hang out and just stay at home and just eat food and just chill. And I think that is your way of processing it. Until you just talked about the Twitter thing, I didn't realize that was what you were doing. So I'm learned something new too. So it's really cool. But yeah, I think that's your process, and it's interesting to watch because I think you're dealing with all the emotions of your character. So all those emotions are coming out in this high on Friday night, but then it's a lot, and so then Saturday you need to just take a day off.
Awesome. So just really quickly, if you're just joining us and you have no idea what's going on, that's okay. This is Weekly Affirmations, the show about indie and freeform analog games. I am the host Strix, and I'm joined today by Mel, Ajit, and Graypon. And today we are discussing bleed. And as we said before, bleed is when emotions cross the barrier between player and character and we get all mixed up. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. And we are exploring together today as a community, including questions and comments from chat, about what bleed is, what it means, and what do we do with it. So I'd like to swing the conversation now that we're starting to talk about dealing with bleed to general techniques for actually creating bleed on purpose and actually de-escalating bleed when it happens so that we can deal with it healthily.
Yes.
So I'm gonna shut up and listen to you guys talk.
Can I actually just jump in one thing about it? Because I was thinking about the bronze girl situation.
Yes.
And the fourth wall or the audience, and I think there's some challenges going on there. I don't know all the details, but I was thinking about Daniel Radcliffe after he played Harry in the Harry Potter series. He was kind of pigeonholed for a while, and maybe he still is, as this, a sweet child actor or the sweet child character, and he's the hero.
And then he did horns.
He actually did Equus first.
That's
he
true.
did a Broadway show of Equus.
That was what I was about to say. Where he's in this Broadway show, he strips off and he's completely nude, and that was a very specific. I think that was his very next project, right?
Yeah, he did that. He did that specifically to break that.
Why don't you talk about it? Because
Well, so I've only read Equus and I've only seen stills of his performance. But Equus is a very small cast theater production about a not boy, but teen and his therapist, where he goes through his obsession with horses. And so it is sexually explicit, it's gory because he ends up killing horses. And it's just completely the opposite of Harry Potter. So he did that as a manicured move to be I'm not a kid, I'm an adult, and I can do these serious roles.
and now you could say that's in response to the bleed that that has pigeonholed him by audiences that have viewed him in the millions as a certain thing, and you see actors do that or be trapped by roles or trapped by the assumption that they are this thing because they played this thing, right? And that's what we're talking about right here.
So Drunkly Romantic, who is a co-star who's been on my show before, is in chat today. Say hi. Drunkly Romantic actually sent me a pretty awesome wall of text via DM today on Twitter. Drunkly Romantic, I was wondering if you could maybe splice that out into a couple of pieces and land it in chat, because I do the LARP academic stuff, but you actually wrote a paper on actors and this idea that they are attracted to each other because they're near each other. This is called mere exposure effect, according to you. So if you want to drop some of your knowledge in chat, that would be super appreciated, and maybe we can discuss that a little bit as well.
While Drunkly is typing that out, I have a related thing, and it was Tim Curry talking about his role in Rocky Horror Picture Show. That was originally a stage show, and I was watching the documentary, and he says that unlike in the stage, when you're in the makeup for 8 to 10 hours a day, that some of it gets stuck in the cracks. Was his quote that I like very much.
That's a pretty great quote.
Yeah, that's a pretty great quote.
The fact that you remember that off the top of your head is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It stuck.
Yeah. Okay, so designing for bleed in a game. So you're a game designer, I'm a game designer, you're a game designer.
I'm a creative.
You're a creative
person.
So
That
if
counts.
you wanted to promote bleed in a way that was cool, what would you do in a game?
The first thing we did was start having conversations about how to recognize the difference between who you are and the character you're playing. Again, I'm speaking more to ghosting. That's been the majority of my experience for Bleed, has been playing myself or a version of myself and interacting with my friends or versions of my friends. Most of the, I can think of maybe 2 examples of Bleed where I was a character. Mostly because when I'm playing a character, it's a game that doesn't have a lot of high emotional value. But with our games where we're playing ourselves, that was a key tool. Was definitely making sure that the conversation went on about differentiating between character and self.
But what if you want to promote bleed? What if you don't want to differentiate?
Oh. Well, no, you do. Oh, I see what you're saying. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's kind of like holding anchor points that you can have a clear communication between the two. I think that can promote bleed, is what I'm saying. Is being self-aware and being aware of the situation you're going into, so you can enjoy those emotions. And then there's also the question, I guess, of just what emotions do you want to
Bleed.
evoke?
Yeah.
Like, what do you want to touch there?
So one of the designers that I always think of that designed for Bleed is actually Emily Cairboss herself.
Yeah.
So she designed a trio of games. We played one of them on the show called Shooting the Moon. And you've played one of her other games in that trio, correct? Tajid?
Yeah. Under My Skin. Sorry.
Yes.
I was reading Drunkly Romantic's points. Under My Skin, which is a great game. It's about romantic entanglements, which is Emily's
thing.
Yeah.
So if you want to look at good examples of games that make you bleed in a good way, specifically around romance, I would look at Emily Cairboss's games. Specifically,
Can you name it one more time? I'm sorry.
Shooting the Moon, Under My Skin.
Yeah.
And what was the third one in the trilogy?
It's
Breaking the Ice.
Breaking the
Breaking
Ice.
the
First
Ice.
one is
The first
Breaking
one.
the Ice.
Yeah. And they're also labeled a romance trilogy. And we did the consultation on the artwork for it.
We maybe did that.
Yeah,
Yes, we did.
It was cool.
Now, I don't want to speak for the whole panel here, but I will point out that, especially when we're talking about promoting bleed, don't take things as absolutes. I've learned a lot from my experiences that things that a whole drove of people can say this is awesome and the bleed is great can be really upsetting for me. I don't think I've had any straight up trauma from playing games, but I have had games that I had to walk away from and stop playing it altogether because of the bleed, and it was the bleed that the people around me were all just loving and drinking in. So it's
me too.
personal. It's personal. Don't try and make a blanket statement like, you know, a lot of the questions that I'm seeing in chat and a lot of the discussion we're having here needs to be always placed in context, and it's personal. For instance, the reason it comes up is because I just got my copy of the romance trilogy in the mail just yesterday.
Yay!
Super excited.
Yeah.
Also aware that it will take a very specific group of people for me to be okay playing that game with. Because romance is a difficult thing in my life. I'm not a romantic person, and it's hard to play games where that's the focal point and have a lot of bleed and not have a lot of bleed in from all of my relationship history. So
I had a friend that wanted to run Call of Cthulhu, and this was in the early aughts. And when I was like, oh, horror game, that sounds fun. And he was like, no, it's not fun. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, if I run this, we'll play in the dark, like candlelit. And he's like, and you need to be ready for anything. And I'm like, but no, like touching or like violence. And he's like, I can't promise that. And I'm like,
well, then
so
I can't play your
cool,
game.
not gonna play that.
Yeah.
That's terrible. Like he's like, I might, like try and scare you and like grab you or whatever. And I'm like, not okay.
Yeah.
No, thanks. Hey, thanks for letting me know.
Yeah. Communication.
But with intentional bleed, I have a friend that is transmasculine and is very early on in the stages of that. And so on purpose made a character that's incredibly masculine as a form of like self-actualization, trying it on. And so that's kind of private to them in their group. Like it's something that they kind of talk to the GM about, but it's something that they went into specifically with this character to be like, yes, like this character is a he, this character is a dude, this character lives in the woods and like eats nuts and berries, like
Has a beard.
yeah, has a beard, like is very masculine. And so I thought that was a really cool way of doing that, to get some of those dude feelings in.
Yes, that's cool.
I think if you're going to design for bleed, you want to design for like the emotional touchstones that really push us in some form or the other. And I think of games that there's definitely two RPGs that right off the bat that come up to my mind that seem to capture a moment that all gamers struggle with, and that's high school. Monster Hearts is definitely prone to emotional bleed, I think, in and out, and both in and out. And then there's a LARP about high school cliques.
Playing the cards?
Yeah, playing the cards. And nobody I've met has played that game
And
without
not had bleed?
some level of bleed in or out, or maybe both, because playing the cards is set up as it's a LARP, 20 plus people maybe, and it's a birthday party, but four cliques converge on this birthday party. One are like the popular girls,
The hearts.
one are the jocks, which are the spades. One are the geeks, right? Like I think
Clubs.
the clubs are the geeks. And then the diamonds are like I think the artsy rocker theater people. And all four of these cliques converge and have like all sorts of drama and all sorts of problems. And the game is designed and written to create this drama and all these conflicts. But a lot of players, like myself included, who had a very challenging time in high school, come into that going, oh my God, what the hell? I remember the first time I played it, I played an Indian character, which was the first time I'd ever seen a game with a character written as specifically Indian. So that was powerful and like a very emotional moment for me. But then my character was also an outsider, which was kind of cool because that was my experience as a high school student. I was the one of the only non-white kids in the entire school, so I felt very isolated in high school, and that was very difficult. And I brought that same feeling, and so that was bleed in from my real life experiences, because the character is also written as an Indian outsider, and I got picked on by the jocks. Then at one point they like brought me into their circles, but a lot of the time they were fighting with me. And as a high school student, I kind of like, I went back and forth with like being bullied and pushing back. And I think when I played the game, I amped up my pushing back to another level. I was like, fuck no, I'm gonna kick your ass if you fuck with me. And I was hyper aggressive in a way that I think maybe I was like compensating or desiring like that, like Ajit of like 12 or 14 or 16 had done that same thing and stood up for myself more in a way that I didn't. And so that was a really intensely bleedy game. And for a lot of people, like there were a lot of women who played it, and like being one of the hearts or not being one of the hearts, being picked on by one of the hearts was really difficult.
Super traumatic if you were picked on in high school.
Yeah, there was it was a really intense game.
So Blackbird
amazing.
brought up something really interesting that I know that you can speak to, and that is being a person of color, trying to play a person of color in a game, and how that doesn't always work out, right?
Yeah.
And I'm seeing other comments where like trying to play people of color in a game, and that means that other people have bad expectations of how that's gonna go. Can we talk about us as brown people playing brown people in games and what that bleed feels like?
Sure. Do you want to start or you want me to start?
So I'll start by saying like I didn't actually play a Hispanic person because I didn't feel comfortable doing it for a very long time. I played white people because that's what everyone else was playing, and to step out of that line would be signifying something, and I didn't know what it was, but it wasn't good, and so I avoided it actually for a really long time. And then after a while I became like more self-aware and more confident in myself, and I was like, you know what, screw this, like I'm gonna find the right people to play with who will understand the context of why I'm playing this character, and we're gonna do this. And so pretty much 99% of the time now, whether I'm playing a Hispanic character or a black character or an Indian character or something, I'm not playing a white character. I will play anything but, because it's sort of my way of reclaiming like this is a space that I get to have and you can't tell me no. And that was very challenging at first, and there's definitely friction with people who maybe not be very aware of how that works. If you sit down with strangers at a gaming table and you're like, I'm playing an Indian person, they might just suddenly start throwing like tropes at you or caricatures, and you gotta like shut that shit down because it's terrible.
Yeah, I see AJ said like, funnily enough, I played mostly white people in Muse for the longest time. So yeah, I'll tell my story because I can definitely connect with what AJ is saying. Like growing up, I was the only white kid in my town, only white kid in my schools, and it was really tough. And I remember, and I've told the story a few times to people, I would look like at 14 or 12, or I mean most of my teen years, I would look in the mirror and I would wish I was white. Like I would just look in and feel like I was different, an outsider, that I was not attractive, I was not liked because I was brown and I was Indian, and I had different kind of hair. All of the things that isolate you and make you feel awkward and feel alone in the world. And it was really tough. And so role-playing games were my escape. I was like, okay, I wish I was white and I can't be white in reality, so I will play the white hero that you see on the cover of a lot of D&D books, especially in the old school D&D books. A lot of the heroes were white, these white paladins or white rangers or whatever. Like the male hero from like fantasy stories are often like white. And so I would play in my D&D group, I would play white characters. And then when I moved to like World of Darkness, I'd play these white vampires and so on. And much like AJ, and much like I'm sure some of the people of color out there, when I moved to Moshes, I did the same thing. I always played white characters. And
that's online, completely anonymous.
Right. But then that was also the time when I experimented for the first time with my with a person of color, because I was like, they don't know who I really am. And so I've been playing for years white characters, but because that was like my way of being part of the majority, being accepted, was playing white characters. But then at a certain point, at this turning point, I was like, maybe I can actually play something closer to myself. And so I experimented with a black character, an Indian character, a Hispanic character. I played multiple characters of different ethnicities and multiple characters of Indian characters. I just started playing a lot of Indian characters. And that was really cool and powerful for me. Now I play almost exclusively Indian characters or people of color.
I actually remember the first game I actually played someone who was non-white was in Scion, which I am now writing for, which is super awesome. But I played an Egyptian person. And here's the deal, I didn't do it well. So Misaki asked a really important question, and that is, should white people play as people of color in their games? Or would that be cultural appropriation? And I would say...
You have a really smart community asking really smart questions.
So I'd say absolutely yes, do that. That does help normalize people of color. You are maybe gonna mess up sometimes, and that is okay, right? Because this takes iteration and practice. And maybe sometimes a person of color will be offended or say you did that wrong. That is also okay, because that means in the future that you can do it better. But I would say don't be afraid to try playing people of color. What you should absolutely never, never, never do is play caricatures. That is super damaging, and that's what I have personal sensitivity and bleed around when I'm playing a person of color, and I am a person of color. If you start caricaturizing me, I'm just gonna freak out because that's way too close to home and I'm gonna have bleed about that. Like I can't stop it. And so please, yes, play different settings that are non-white. Play different characters that are non-white. Explore those areas. Know that you're probably gonna fuck it up sometimes and you may even get called out about it, but we're all working together to push forward with these things to make gaming more inclusive as a whole. And so if you get feedback that is critical, take it in stride, right? And do something different next time. But it's really simple. Like if you're being genuine and you're doing this not to be an asshole, we're all gonna know. Like your friends at the table are gonna know. And they may say, hey, like don't do that. Like maybe don't squint your eyes really hard because that's not appropriate. But everyone is on the same team. Like we're on your team, you're on our team. So please, yes, experiment with that. And know that you're gonna iterate.
Yeah, and speaking of like playing non-white characters, I think almost every RPG you and I have written for, we have written themes that are non-white. So if you play one of the things that we've worked on, you'll get a chance to do it, including as they said, like your Scion, you did the Aztec.
Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's definitely not white.
Small Fry has a great point. Learn to be curious, empathetic, listen to others, check auto responses that may be defensive. We all do it. So that's actually great advice, Small Fry. Thank you.
Oh, there's a question about trans.
I was gonna say, can I bring up some?
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, so it's not related to race. I am super white, as white as can be. But speaking from a plus size person, right? Like, I played thin characters forever. Thin, like lily white, most beautiful, very femme characters. And if I wanted to play anything else, it was like, well, you can play a half orc.
Wow.
And or you can play a dwarf, so those are not the approximations of POC or larger people. Everyone.
Yeah.
So that has still been something that is harder for me, especially since a lot of my gaming comes from online. You can't make a fat character in like
Most
any
games.
game.
Yeah.
Except for Second Life.
Yeah.
But even then it's
I
fetishized,
mean, you can be
which
a dog
is
in Second Life. So.
yeah, you can be a dog in Second Life, but making a non-fetishized fat person is nearly impossible. So, and then also I came out as non-binary, and that is super hard to do too. From the very first,
Because there's no visibility there.
yeah, from the very first character creator screen, are you male or female?
Yeah.
And you're like, no. That's been something that I'm working with one of my local friends on a tabletop book, and it's their first release. So we're doing it super chill, super slow. And one of the things that we're working very hard on is that it's another planet. It's not a semi-Earth or anything like that. And all of the species there have no human equivalent, and gender is not a thing. Just for the whole thing. Like they're like, everyone gets to choose, and it's not even an issue. So that's one of the ways that we're trying to do it. But you also don't want to make non-binary characters alien, so we're gonna work through that eventually too. So it's like, okay, step one, make it not a thing in this setting at all ever. Step two, introduce humans. I didn't read chat at all during that.
That's
but
okay.
for my level of trans, like I would love, like I'm actually making a character in a game, and the gaming group is mostly cis people. So I'm just not even doing it because I don't feel like dealing with it. I know it'll trigger the hell out of me. So I'm like, yep, I'll make a girl character. Let's just not even worry about it.
Yeah.
Because they don't have the fluency to be able to deal with it, right?
Yeah, and it's supposed to be like set in, historic Japan or whatever. And I'm like, I just don't even want to mix all of this stuff.
Yeah.
That sounds like a pain in the butt.
Want to give a huge shout out to Apocalypse World and Monster Hearts too in that regard, especially Monster Hearts, because I mean it starts out right there. It's a list. It is a list longer than 2 when it asks you about your gender.
Yeah.
And just putting that on the page
Changes a lot of
made
things.
such a big difference.
Well, and even D&D 5th edition, and I'm sure Pathfinder has said the same thing, where they're like, gender doesn't matter. Do whatever. You can be trans, you can be non-binary, you can be cis. It's whatever. Don't worry about it.
We're crawling forward.
Yeah.
There was a comment a little earlier in the chat that I want to explore, and that was a person saying they were a white person and they played people of color in games sometimes, but it felt the same. And what does skin color have to do with playing your character? So it's not actually about your melanin, it's about your lived experiences in society and how people treat you. Because depending on your ethnicity, your color, really any sort of minority status where you're not the status quo, you get treated differently, which means your lived experiences are different, which means the way you see the world is different. So if you are playing a person of color, right, imagine what that world is like from their perspective. Empathy, right, as Small Fry said. And you'll find that it really probably will feel a little different if it's not something that you're accustomed to. So that would be my response to, well, it's just skin color, so I'm playing the same character. Not really, I would say, because we're talking about lived experiences in a different context than maybe you have access to in your normal life, and that's the point of exploring it in an RPG. And maybe getting a little bleed via empathy, right? So that you understand the lived experience of others in a much better way. So, because I have very different lived experiences than you, we all have different lived experiences from each other, which informs how we see and interact with the world.
Yeah, and it's context too, right? So like an Indian kid growing up in an all-white neighborhood, in the 80s is different from an Indian kid growing up in Bangalore in current day. Like, you're going to be part of the norm if you're living in Bangalore. Though, not to get too complex, India is definitely grappling with its own like colonial history and its reverence to all things white and all things European and all things Western. So that's a different story, but it's the context of the character. So if you're playing an Indian character, it depends on where is the character, right? And the setting is going to be important, and the environment's going to be important. So it's pretty complex.
Yes, and there's definitely something to be said for like my experience as a totally white boy growing up in the Midwest, which is filled with, shocker, more white people.
News break.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I want to interrupt to get back to Black Spider Monkey. So I think I was more trying to say that because I look white, it was hard for others to interpret me as another race because of that, even though we were supposed to be an RP. So I get that. I am a Hispanic person that sometimes codes as white. Some people think I'm white, some people think I'm Hispanic, some people have no idea what ethnicity I am, and they say, "Oh, what are you, dear? You're so pretty." And I'm just like, so I understand this really well. And so if you want to let people know, like, I am playing this thing in the RP, sometimes you will have to remind them, like, hey, I'm coming at this from this direction because X, Y, Z. Or like, I'm gonna say things in this certain way because X, Y, Z. That doesn't mean, put a feather in your head. Please don't do that. Yeah. But you may have to practice reinforcing what you're playing with people who aren't used to it. And over time, you'll grow together those skills to be able to hold that thing which you are exploring. Because it takes their participation as well. So unfortunately what that means is we may have to do a little bit of educating. I know, but
I definitely wanted to I want to reinforce that. Speaking as the white boy from the Midwest, research is key. Don't put 6 Missouri white boys in the room and say, explain diversity. Talk to people. Empathy involves understanding, read, learn, and thankfully, I can even say thankfully to you specifically, there are games that are coming out where the context is not implied, it's implicit, it's explained, it's necessary. And that's going to shift the landscape. You want to talk about design for bleed, have more than 2 genders,
so many things we could do.
Yes.
So we are getting a little bit off track. I know this is an excellent topic, but I want to steer us back a little bit in our last 15 minutes here before we open it up to affirmations again, because those are awesome. So you have played a game, you are done, and you are bleeding like a stuck pig.
Okay.
What do you do to de-escalate bleed? Like actual mechanics or techniques that you use to deal with bleed in either a positive or a negative situation?
Pint of Ben & Jerry's. Some serious ice cream if the emotions are high. I need to under the
1 pint, you said?
Yeah, 1 pint, some good TV, curl up in bed. There you go.
So you basically do self-care.
I think so. If I'm feeling very emotional and the emotions are not positive, I need to retreat and I need to be by myself and I need to maybe binge watch I don't know, Stargate or something like that, like one of my comfort shows that I really love, and eat ice cream and be by myself. I think that's the negative, how I handle the negative. If it's positive, once again, I think I tend towards binging again, but in the opposite, in human contact. Like, I will go to the bar afterwards with the friends and have a lot of drinks and socialize with the people I just played, and I'm like, wasn't that a great game? Yeah, that was a great game. You were so cool. No, you were so cool. And like go on and we'll like drinks and talk and bond. So it really depends on how the bleed is. If like the bleed is a positive bleed out, and I'm feeling like the high of the game and high of all the emotions, then it's definitely like, I love everybody. You're awesome. Let's hug and hang out and have drinks forever. And then if it's like shitty and I'm like, holy fuck, that sucked. And everybody hates me and the world hates me and the world's awful. Like it's like retreat under giant comforters with ice cream and television. And that's how I feel.
Awesome.
So maybe this is slightly off topic, but in the BDSM community, there is some non-sexual talk about coming down from a scene, and so you have played this role and in this character, and there is a responsibility of everyone in the scene to take care of each other afterwards. So like you hug it out, you get your like orange slices, you get like a comfy blanket, you discuss what happened if you're feeling feelings, and then everything's good. So like communication and making sure that you've taken care of each other's needs as like the group community, I think is really important. Unless like
communities can't learn from each other.
Yeah. And if you are like, but I know when I'm negative, I'm like, I don't want to talk to anyone. Everyone pissed me off. Everyone messed with me today, and I'm gonna go chill. I try to stay self-aware in that moment and be like, I'm gonna go eat a whole sharing size bag of peanut butter M&Ms and watch once until I can't feel feelings anymore, and then I'll write an email.
Nice.
The peanut butter kind, you said?
Yeah, peanut butter, not peanut butter.
You guys
Very
are really
important.
helping me with my diet, if nothing else. This is good.
Eat.
Good advice.
That seems to be the go-to.
The comfort food.
Yeah.
So I will say, from a designing standpoint, I think there are actual mechanisms you can put to the back end of a game. One of them is debriefing, which is complex, and there are complex opinions about debriefing. Debriefing can be done wrong, and it can make things worse.
Yeah, for sure.
We've experienced
that.
that.
We have experienced that.
But
for
debriefing
sure.
can also be really integral and important. And one of the integral aspects of having a built-in debrief is that everyone agrees that that's going to happen, so you have buy-in, and then everyone knows what's going to happen. And one of those things is de-rolling. So de-rolling means separating you, the person, from you, the character, and that means doing things like talking about your character in third person, talking about other people's characters in third person, sharing the experiences that you had so that you articulate them, you kind of give them an identity, but then they're outside of you instead of doing inside of you. So you can be like, hey, Ajit, your character, Mike, did this thing that really hurt my character's feelings, and I realized it hurt my feelings too. I just wanted to let you know. And maybe he's like, that's fine, and he's like this, or maybe we go, okay, like hug. Yeah. And it's up to the people to navigate that.
Yeah, I think another one is like, if you have costuming, remove the costuming at the end of the show. Remove the costuming, or it's not at the end of the show, end of the LARP, or if it's a LARP. If you've got props, especially if they're disposable props, like destroy the props, like rip up the paper or a character sheet. An RPG, like if you're doing a tabletop game and it's really particularly intense and like the emotions are maybe negative, or you just want to let go of that character, it doesn't matter, negative or positive, you can just actually rip up the character sheet if it's a one shot and throw it away. There's definitely different techniques to do to remove yourself from that character and to signify, I think just as importantly, signify to all the other players that you are no longer that character.
Yes.
And so just removing the costume or ripping up a prop or whatever signifies to yourself, but it also signifies to your fellow players, I am not this character.
Sometimes you gotta make cookies.
Yeah. Yes. Sometimes you gotta make scorpion cookies, which I've not tasted yet, for the record.
Well, they are a little hot.
Really? Was that a throwdown?
I'm just saying.
Oh my! Really?
I thought maybe some of my players were gonna pass out on air when we were playing Monster Hearts, and I fed them to them.
Yeah, I wasn't one of your players. Just saying. Go saying.
Scorpion venom.
Oh, okay. Scorpion cookies. Acceptable. Is that FDA regulated?
They're pending approval with the FDA.
You have to sign a waiver before eating them.
What about you? What do you got?
For how I de-escalate?
Yeah.
This might help some people. I've created a playlist of it's a playlist I call Back to Zero, and it is all the songs that I can relate to that remind me of my past, which is how I center who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And they sort of tell the narrative, so it goes all the way back to my songs I love from childhood, all the way up to the modern day.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep that. Like currently, I've had that on my iPod Shuffle, so I can listen to Back to Zero, and every time I hear a song, especially if it's a nice vast playlist, so you don't know what's coming next, and something comes up, you're like, oh right, I remember this from summer 1997 when I was even nerdier. And changes, I was.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, that's really kind of cool.
Music is such a emotional.
Yeah, if you've got a connection to music, I would definitely recommend it because that's been helping me a lot lately. It's just like remembering all the songs that I love helps me remember who I am and who I have been this whole time. Back to zero.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I think another technique is like if you are friends with everybody and everybody consents, like even like physical touching, like a hug or a handshake. I think that physical
Can reset.
Yeah, we're so hands off with RPGs. You're like, do not touch, and often fairly with good reason. Yeah. But if it's non-strangers and everybody's comfortable with each other, maybe like a hug. You're like, hey, you're my friend. Like, I know you killed me with the samurai sword in the last game we played.
I think he's still bleeding.
I think you like run me through, but I still love you.
That was intense.
And like like a hug or a handshake, be like, hey, high five, Mel. Like we're still friends, I think like
Affirmations.
Affirmations. I think that positive, I think the physical touch is important. I think it's a connector between human beings. So small touches.
I just remembered a thing. So in the game that we're working on, we were talking about that at the end of each, the leveling system is going to be based on milestones that happen hopefully every game. So you get like a little +1 at the end of each session that helps improve your character. So we have been talking about like how to make that good mechanically, and so having a debrief as part of the game flow where everyone talks about like 3 of their favorite parts of the game centered on the characters. So it is like a really like, even if you didn't win the fight or anything like that, you can be like, it was awesome how you had that idea to go scale that cliff to do whatever. And making that an out of game thing where everyone's talking about, team building.
Yeah. That's actually a technique that I use on this show.
No.
So at the end of every game that we play, we get out of our characters and then we each give a compliment to somebody about something that they did in the game that we liked.
That's good.
Again, now you know my nefarious plans, guys. This is all on purpose. Because I think taking care of your players, if you're a GM, is super important. I think having responsibility as a co-player with someone else in a space is super important. You got to take care of each other. Because that's how you have the awesome experiences. That's how you have the trust to be able to go to those places. Because if I don't trust anybody, I'm like, I'm a barbarian, I hit things. And if I do have trust, then it's like, I love you, but we must both die.
Wow.
And then there's tears, and it's great.
Yeah.
But you can only get to those places when you have built the structures to hold those things.
Totally.
And so I think the summary here is that bleed is just bleed. It's neither bad nor good. It's like force, light side and the dark side. But it's up to you to be self-aware, to know when it's happening, and to recognize it, and to decide what to do with it. And if you are going to play a game that you know is going to have high bleed, maybe think about the supporting structures at the back end of the game to debrief or de-roll or do affirmations or eat ice cream so that you guys are prepared and you continue to be able to game together. Because the worst thing that happens is that you get mad, your community burns down, there's fights, and you're not friends anymore, let alone gaming together. We never want that to happen because that sucks. So we have a few more minutes, 5 more minutes before we need to get back to affirmations. So I have one more question that I got via Twitter earlier today, and this was from Epithrial, of course.
No.
So Epithrial asks, as viewers, we can get deeply invested in the characters of a game. For instance, Beta, AJ's character. From
Yeah.
What are coping strategies you recommend for bleed for the viewers? As in, how to structure specific steps to process death or romance or close calls with online communities in a healthy way. It's a fascinating question.
And I think he's doing it. Like, he's a perfect example. Creating art. Right? I think let's say like Beta, I don't know if there was fan art about Beta's death, but I think like an homage to Beta is like, how do I bury Beta, right? Might have been like let's create some beautiful art of Beta's death and like let it go, and that would be one way to honor Beta and like let go Beta and to like move on. That is the art that the community is creating, and I almost think the art that the community creates is the way for them to grapple with Bleed, or to like interact with Bleed in a way.
We also gave his actor, AJ, time to decompress, actually on Weekly Affirmations.
Yep.
When we had a roundtable about character death, and we invited the whole community for that. That was very specifically to address what was happening and to help people sort of deal with it in a way that was healthy. So hopefully that helped contribute. So having conversations about it as a community is super important as well. So art, expression through art.
Yeah.
Community get-togethers where we talk and we sort of let out our emotions. You guys, can you think of anything else?
That is exactly what I was going to suggest. So yeah, that sounds amazing. That, you know, everyone watching has a chance to kind of decompress with the people. So you don't really get that in other forms of media at all. You know, like you watch a TV show and like your favorite character dies, and what do? You like go to the forums, or you go to Tumblr, or you go to whatever, and that you all facilitate that in a very I can't think of the word right now.
I'm gonna ask a
good way.
Devil's advocate question.
Yeah.
So what if the actor's way of dealing with it is to shut down and withdraw, and they need to go deal with their character's death by processing it alone? How do you balance that need against the community's need to interact and decompress with that actor, like we did with AJ? Like, what if that wasn't possible? What would we do? Devil's advocate.
Oh, that's tough.
Yeah.
Well, I would say then that the people that are involved still, like other cast members, blah blah blah, host that thing and make it clear that the actor needs their self-care.
And the Walking Dead does this, right? Like the Talking Dead after The Walking Dead kind of talks, especially when an character is killed off. Like the actor is right there on The Talking Dead. On that show right afterwards, and The Talking Dead's a great kind of way to like decompress of what's going on with The Walking Dead. And I've watched The Talking Dead a bunch of times, even though like I love The Walking Dead, but I'm like, oh okay, talk show, but then it ends up being really smart conversations about it.
What about Discord? We have a Discord server.
Oh yeah.
Would having like just conversations among the community themselves in Discord be helpful, do you guys think? I'm asking you, chat. Because we have that available for our subs, of course. So they can always log on and chat with each other via text or via voice. If having organized Discord events would make sense. I'm not certain.
That's awesome. I want to point out, that's not smart. I want to say like the chat seems to be really positive about this conversation, and I think this is an important conversation to be had. Like gaming is, you know, what is a multi-billion-dollar industry?
Just a little bit.
It's a huge industry. It's growing. There's going to be complex emotions and complex issues coming out of it. And so to marginalize or trivialize these emotions or these conversations is unfair to the community. So it's really glad that we're having this, and the community is like part of this conversation and asking us really smart questions and really great opinions.
Awesome.
Yes, I've got like 3 or 4 things here that I think we're out of time, but I've got 3 or 4 things that Chad has brought up that I'm like, oh,
there's so many. You guys have asked so many good questions or really good
opinions.
opinions.
Yeah.
Really good.
Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We have maybe 15-ish minutes left. We are gonna open up the sounds back up, and Laura QQ is gonna give me her list for affirmations, but we can continue to talk throughout this time. So let's take a 1 moment step back. Ooh. How do we feel like this conversation went?
I feel like we just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
And honestly, going into it, I thought we can cover this. We'll tell people what Bleed is. We'll tell people Bleed. We'll tell them some stories. Done.
I was like, I'll talk about my exes. Like 1 minute before it started.
You can still tell us more about your exes.
Oh yeah, no, we did. We're good.
You're good?
Oh, there's more.
Yeah, I figured there's more.
Yeah.
So this is a new weekly show specifically about Bleed. I'm kidding.
I don't know if I signed up for that. I just want to say chat had excellent questions today.
Yeah.
Yay for chat.
Yeah, chat, you guys were awesome.
Yeah, really thoughtful, really nuanced. I could tell you guys are really like gripped and paying attention, and you get it. You're my guys and you get it, so that's awesome. Thank you for your awesome questions. Thank you for participating. If you want to continue to follow up with questions via Twitter, I am saying that you have the affirmative to do that with me. I am _Strix. So if you want to chat questions at me, I will do my best to answer them, not all at once, but over a period of time, maybe over the next couple of days. So feel free this time to follow up with me directly if you have additional questions that you want to ask. But we still have a couple of minutes here, so if you want to slip in 1 or 2 more questions, please feel free to do so. We're not out of time quite yet. Grapon, did you have things you want to touch on?
Oh, there's too much. I
Pick
almost
the most
wanna,
alluring one.
I want to find a way to like tell people they can contact me later if they have other questions, and I'll continue the conversation. Here's a hard one for everybody. This was like way up in chat. Mini Moose asked, how do you approach somebody that's obviously having trouble but isn't aware? And that's a really tough question. I don't have a solid answer for you. I've been thinking about it for the last 30 minutes.
So you notice someone else is bleeding heavily and it's maybe not a great situation and they don't know what's going on. What do you do?
Or they're at least handling it poorly.
Yeah, they're handling it poorly. What do you do?
I know that Bree Larson, a friend of mine, has come up with a cool sort of a build-up on for the X card.
There we go.
Money. Thank you all for such a brilliant and informative conversation.
Aw, thank you.
Oh,
Pinky.
thank you.
I'm gonna call myself brilliant.
Thank you. That's really sweet.
That's super awesome.
Yeah.
There's my list. Okay.
And you're definitely right, Andy. We just hit the tip of the iceberg, and we didn't get into ego bleed, which I had like a whole spiel I wanted to say talking about ego bleed.
Ego
but
bleed is an entirely long and complicated subject.
She coined the term.
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
Just
In my
saying.
academic paper, which no one read.
Hey, now I read it.
Did you read that one?
I read one of them.
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure if I read that one. The long papers
They're
and
academic
complex.
papers. So they're not that interesting.
They're interesting, but they're complex. There were some pretty complex stuff going on in there.
I just do the show.
There you
Just
go.
hang out and learn in person.
Okay, so yes, ego bleed is like bleed, but different because it's about personality changes.
Money. I wish to affirm 4 a.m. critter. A thumper that's cooler than Twitter. Yeah, that's what I typed. Maybe I'm too hyped. If you like the affirmation and glitter. Hashtag thumper pride.
That's so
awesome.
These are so
These are
good.
super cool. What I was going to say was ego bleed is about integration of experiences over time to change your actual personality. So that is also complicated and a completely
Really complicated.
other
I'm really
thing.
excited to have that conversation.
I wrote an academic paper about
It's a
it
really
that
smart
has been
paper.
peer reviewed and has been published.
I-
So yes, I'm
Can
doing
I, can I ask really quick? Would it jive? This was another thing that was brought up in chat. That it seems like a lot of the games that are supposedly designed to conjure bleed or are games that are bleed heavy are one shots. Whereas
purpose.
ongoing games that usually are addressing bleed completely blindly and don't know they're doing it. Would that jive with your experience?
Yep, I might have criticized some games in that paper.
Yeah.
In a loving way.
Yes.
To only help the community.
We've definitely debated this. You and I have debated ego bleed. I mean, I agree with you 100%. I think you take a harder stance about, but that's a different topic.
It is. We're gonna dance.
Money. You know what we haven't done in a while? Affirmed furniture. Let's affirm the table. Without it, there will be no DFA.
And even though it's
a
not
really-
round, which people
Yes,
are
we're
talking
affirming
about.
this non-round table.
Money. I would also like to thank you, the hosts, and the chat for this amazing discussion.
Yeah.
All the love.
Thank you.
Awesome.
That's
How's
awesome.
Is your paper published anywhere?
Yeah, it's published.
It's-
on the
Yeah, I
internet?
think you need
Yes.
to
Is it a
tweet out your
paywall?
papers.
No, it's not.
Oh, somebody
So,
was asking for it.
I'm on academia.edu. It's where they host all of our papers. I wrote it for the WeirdCon companion book, which is also available online. Weird spelled with a W-Y.
Can you link it on your Twitter later?
I can totally
Yeah.
link it on my Twitter later.
There you go.
Have fun reading it. I wrote it at the very beginning of my academic career, so it's a little
How
wordy.
many pages is it?
It's not that long. It's not that long.
Is it? It's not that long. 15 pages, or it's not that long. 50 pages.
No, like 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
reasonable.
But it's dense. It's pretty like you're grappling with complex themes.
Yes, we are. As I always do. All right, so the first affirmation is for Binky. So Binky, you are mysterious, asserting Tanuki.
What is a tanuki?
It's like
He asked. I'm not
It's
doing
a
it. I'm not
raccoon
touching
it's a
it.
raccoon dog.
Oh, okay, cool.
It's a Japanese thing.
Okay, great.
So I would be like, "Row-do-do-do, row-do-do-do-do,
Whoa.
row-do-do-do-do." See, you're arrested by it. It totally
Yes,
works.
something is going on here for sure.
I love going from real talk.
Oh, cool. Like somebody linked to your website.
Oh, perfect.
Yay.
Perfect. Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
All of those things are linked at my website.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Strixworks has a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. All right, so continue to talk, but I'm gonna try to shove these in here. So the next one is for 4 a.m. Critter from Prosper's Guard. That was really sweet of you, Prosper's Guard, especially with the rhyming. I like the rhymes.
The rhymes are awesome.
So 4 a.m. Critter, you are a determined, purring owlbear. Mel?
Oh.
Take it away.
What were the first two? Determined
Determined, purring owlbear.
Root.
That's like perfect. Oh my god.
Awesome. I like that. Where's the purring in perfectly?
That was
That was
yeah.
Thanks.
pretty intense. Okay.
We're gonna jump over to Laura QQ's list and we'll just do these in tandem here. So the next one is for Chum Chum Gem, and that was for all the bits.
Yeah.
All those bits you dropped. That was super freaking awesome.
Yes.
So, Chum Chum Gem, you are a faithful, applauding phoenix. So it'd be like, caw caw,
But on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
You
my
gotta
god.
imagine the fire, alright?
Wow.
Moo Selch. Moo Selch? Moo Selch. Moo Selch. I'm gonna go with Moo Selch. Moo Selch,
Okay.
this is for your resub. This is your 2nd month in a row, so thanks for sticking around. I'm glad we didn't scare you off with all of our big brain words. We try. So, Moo Selch, you, oh yes, are a victorious, bemusing kraken.
Whoa.
Looks like you just volunteered.
No, I did not volunteer. That was not a volunteer. That was like, whoa, I don't want to volunteer. That was like my negative volunteering.
So, what does a victorious, bemusing kraken sound like, my love?
Oh my god.
My
So
dear.
first Sharktopus,
Yeah.
now Kraken. Let's see how they differ.
Okay, victorious, bemusing. Oh my god, I can't believe I do not believe I do these things. Like, how do you convince me to do these things?
It's so easy.
I am so confused by this. What is going on here?
It's the Hyper RPG Studio. Do you know I'm
Alright.
very reserved?
It just brings it out of you.
Wow. Help me.
It's this great community. Fills you with energy.
Wow.
If you can't get to my article, I will make sure to post it on Twitter later. I think WeirdCon may have changed its links, so some of my links may not be updated to the actual article.
Yeah.
But
You should read her pieces on Tor.com though.
those are good too.
Yeah.
So the next one is from Huventruve. It's the troll affirmation for the table.
Oh.
Yes. So, table. You are a radioactive, shimmering elf.
Cool.
I thought this was radioactive.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's the
Okay,
radioactivity.
so a radioactive shimmering elf that is a table. So it'd be like,
Sorry, just one more rhyme. I think I'm on fire this time. Great conversation with the Thumper Nation. That's it. I'm done causing the chime. Hashtag
Oh my
Thumper
God.
Pride.
oh, that's awesome.
Prosperous Guard, you are awesome.
That's great.
That's hilarious.
Okay, we have now 6 minutes, so we're gonna get through these. So the next one is for Mortisteel, who has been a consummate community member since I can remember, which is more than almost 8 months now. So, Mortisteel, you are a sweet, behaving caterpillar.
That's awesome.
Oh, you're looking at me. I get the caterpillar.
Yes.
The sweet and behaving?
Yes.
Oh, we know what that sounds like. It sounds like, hello.
Would you like to come in and have some tea? Meet the missus.
Okay, but that caterpillar straight up lies.
Yeah, that sweet behaving caterpillar is British, apparently. All sweet behaving caterpillars are British.
Don't go that way.
like-
Never
it's-
go that way.
It's like the
That's
caterpillar
the
from
way
Downtown
she was
Abbey.
supposed to go.
Wow.
I would
Okay.
have watched Downton Abbey if it was
Would have taken us straight
caterpillars.
to that castle.
I'd watch Downtown Abbey if it had sweet behaving caterpillars. For sure.
Muppets.
All right, the next one is for Paladin Hulk. So, Paladin Hulk, you are a witty, prancing marmot. So, a witty, prancing marmot would be like, Otokoto, Okotoko, Okotoko, Koto,
Okay. I'm gonna hug you now.
bleed.
Yeah. Listen, bleed out. I'm terrified for me.
I'm terrified for my future life.
The next one is for Misaki Takahashi. So Misaki, you actually asked some pretty good questions in chat today too. Thank you for sharing. So you are a delightful, bellowing
There you go.
octopus. There we go. A delightful, bellowing octopus. So it'd be like, because he's underwater. He's got to make bubble sounds.
Jesus. Holy cow. Whoa.
Just saying.
Oh, that's why.
A delightful, bellowing octopus. Now you know. Okay, and then our final one, unless you do any last-minute affirmations, is for Prosperous Guard, our rhyming master today. Super appreciated the rhymes. I actually really like it. I like a lot. That was very pleasing to me. So, oh yes, you'll enjoy this one. So, Prosperous Guard, you are a helpful, cackling Sleipnir.
What's the Sleipnir?
It is a mythological horse.
So glad I'm not the one who doesn't know.
Yeah.
I don't know as well.
Eight-legged horse,
Wow, because like...
which was birthed from Loki.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Because Loki turned into a horse
And
Awesome.
you know, intercourse.
with a
As a
different
horse.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway,
To know, I'm learning so many things on this show.
Hey,
So
thanks,
many
Norse
things.
mythology.
oh, there we go. Thanks for the follow. What was that? Sebastian.
It might have been 6 legs.
Tea basket case. Thank you for following us.
Yeah.
So, a helpful cackling Sleipnir. So it'd be like.
Oh, God.
Oh, my lucky charms!
I'm not partaking of this at all.
And that is all the time
Tap
that we
out.
have
It is 8 legs.
today, guys. Thank you so much
Oh.
for joining
Thank
us
you.
for Weekly Affirmations. Next up is Renegades, which is going to be super awesome. Oh, and thank you for friending us, Donald Dummy.
Yay.
I have a secret. Next week is my birthday.
It
is! Not yet. Next week on Friday. Next week is my Friday birthday. And on Friday next week, I'm going to have a very special announcement for you of my very own. So, I hope you tune in. Oh, look at all of those
Aw.
bits. Yay, 100 bits. So thank you guys so much for joining us for this awesome panel. We learned a lot from you. Hopefully you got some takeaways too. I'm just gonna slip that in there.
Money.
Last affirmation.
Yeah.
Love to all brainy peoples at the table and in the chat. #RenRaku.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Trooper SJP, I really hope your teeth feel better.
Happy
I really do.
26th
Yeah.
birthday, Strix.
So,
Happy Strix Day.
happy Strix Day. So, Trooper, this one is for you. You are a scruffy, with exclamation point, sparkling minotaur. And I think we should all make that sound while Laura QQ
Oh,
gives us our song.
Okay.
Ready for this?
What's it, a weekly affirmation? A positive feel-good show. The most positive things on this channel called Hyper Rabbit Power Go.
Oh my God.
It's pretty decent.
Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful
Bye.
weekend. Bye.